Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to Type 40 Live, your Doctor Who concentrated 2-ish hours of geeky, timey-wimey talk here from us on the Spacebook channel. You're sitting comfortably. It's been quite a busy 48 hours, certainly by recent standards, maybe even 72. We're going to get to all that in a moment. I'm going to bring people on. We're going to have a chat about Doctor Who, the Doctor Who universe, one companion in particular too, and we're going to take a trip back in time on this day, as always. All those segments coming up for your pleasure there with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. Got the Type 40 waiting behind me to take off here. Good to see you all. Going to bring people on in a second, but I'm going to check in with you first, particularly if you're in Great Britain, where it's a really, really hot day. So I don't know how you've got us on screen at the moment. If maybe you've got us on your phone, you're out and about in the park listening or watching along to Type 40 Live there. I don't know. Doing this over the, or in your shades. There we are. That could be it. Got a fair few people here. Good to see. Good to see. Ahoy, shipmates. Ahoy, Crimplin. Ahoy. Good morning, everyone says. Retro Doc. Greetings. Oh, the Geek Inside is back inside the live chat. Yes, because we are streaming live to YouTube. Of course we are. The world's largest streaming platform, and over onto Facebook, where we've got the Type 40 Facebook group and the Facebook page. There'll be more streaming places and platforms coming along soon. We can guarantee that. Heidi Hi Campers. That's an old one, Derek Brady. Good to see you here too. Yeah, the old ones are the best ones. There's one particular Doctor Who cast member that always reminds me of Heidi Hi. I don't wonder if you can guess who that is. Howdy, folks. Howdy, Digby Strawbridge. Hope that everyone is keeping safe and well. We are. We're under guidelines for a little longer here in the UK, so we haven't really got much say in the matter, really. And you've got a compliment there from Gary Akers, the Retro Doc. Anyone who hasn't yet listened to yesterday's stream by Simon and Dan reviewing the Achilleos book, God, I got it right all the way through that show. Yeah, give it a listen. It was a fantastic stream. It's funny you should mention that, Gary, because I'm about to bring on Simon Horton, the original Lunatic. How about this, Simon?
I know.
We've got a bit of fan mail here from Gary.
Thank you, Retro Doc. What a wonderful way to start this afternoon with a lovely comment about the Chris Achilleos review. So thank you for that. Glad I'm here.
Yes. So anybody who hasn't seen, if you're over on Facebook or anywhere else, or if you just haven't seen the notifications, we dropped a podcast yesterday. It's our 80th edition of the Type 40 podcast. And as a bit of a celebration, because although 80 isn't a big number, it sort of is. I think they're all kind of big numbers at the decade slot, aren't they? So we thought we'd try something different, didn't we, Simon? We made a podcast and video combo, didn't we? So this is what people have got to look for. And what was the subject matter, Simon? It was a bit of a pet subject of ours, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely a pet subject of mine. It was a review of the new Chris Achilleos book, Clack. That's with 3 Ks. And what was fun, we tried something even more new with this, Dan, didn't we? We actually used, believe it or not, 3 cameras on this shoot, on the video version of this.
Get a load of us.
3 cameras. Hey, there's no stopping us now. I'll tell you what, it's onwards and upwards for us. So yeah, and I have to say, we're not blowing our own trumpet, but it is a good show because we just are wildly enthusiastic about the subject matter. We could have talked and talked and talked, couldn't we, Dan?
Yeah, so this is what you've got to look for, whether you like your podcasts traditionally through your ears or on screen. You want to see us as well as hear us and get a look inside that art book as well before you decide whether to pull the trigger or not. Definitely go for it. Definitely go for it. This is what you've got to look out for on the right here on the Spacebook channel and on the left on the podcatcher of your choice. You can't really go wrong. And yes, we make odd videos there from time to time where we're not live, but this is completely live. So we've got the live chat full of comments from some such as Gary, and we have more of our friends and companions waiting in the green room now to come on. Here's the first one. We're getting Regal again with Queen Charlotte. Welcome back, Charlotte. How are things? You okay?
Good. I'm trying not to melt. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It is a little bit like that, isn't it? It's so. What have you been doing since we last spoke? Have you been watching lots and lots of Doctor Who? Have you been reading? What have you been doing?
Oh God, a mixture of class. I think the last classic I watched was Oh, Warriors of the Deep. That was interesting.
I love
Warriors of the Deep.
Here's the
I
thing.
know
I
somebody.
didn't hate it. I did not hate it. I thought I would. There's bits.
Is that the first time you've watched it, Charlotte?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
really?
I
Wow.
Well, I know somebody. I bet JT's got an opinion about Warriors of the Deep. In fact, he's probably been drinking with the Merca. Let's find out.
Drinking with the worker. Well, there's a funny story about that. Actually, no good. I'm like Simon. I like. I can watch Warriors of the Deep very, very happily. But hello, space bookers. Welcome to summer in the United Kingdom. It is beautiful. It is gorgeous, and it's a fantastic time at the moment. I am really excited about today's show. It's going to be a cracker.
Ian, it's lots to talk about. Welcome to other people joining us in the chat. We've got quite a lot of people watching and commenting. Good day, everyone, says Vanessa Law. Good to see you, Vanessa. Got lots of comments coming up from Vanessa later on about
Hello, Vanessa.
subjects. Always good to see you. And I'm still thinking about those hotcakes that were mentioned on yesterday's show. I think that seems to have stuck with people, the hotcakes. People are mentioning that almost as much as the time that you said you were thinking about dyeing your hair blue, Simon.
Surely
You're not going to live that down.
I'm not. Listen, I never say
imagination.
never. I haven't said I'm not doing it yet. I'm building up to it. Next lockdown.
Greetings to
Sorry,
everyone. Greetings to all in the chat. Sorry, from Darren Powers there. And Sadako's here too with a hey Ian, hey Ian, hey Ian indeed, hey Mega Geek, hey Ian David Diaz. Welcome back to Type 40 Live, my friend. How are you?
I'm all right. How's it going? Can you hear me? Obviously, can you hear me? Yes, you can. It's just too warm. It's bloody warm,
Listen,
isn't
don't
it?
complain, because tomorrow we're going to be complaining it's going to be bloody freezing. So don't enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
This is a British thing, by the way, for people outside the United Kingdom. This is what we do. We complain about the weather, come rain or shine.
Constantly. Derek Brady's here. He's moved home. So I want to say, we hope you're very happy in your new home, Derek. I know it's been a bit of a mare, my friend, but Derek's been a long-standing member of our Facebook group before it was even called Type 40. So it's good to see you settled. We hope you're going to be both very, very happy and that all the stress is over. And you've got a nice garden area you can relax.
Oh, yay. Lovely.
Yeah, well
happy,
done,
happy days,
nice
Derek.
back on board.
Happy days.
Happy days.
Lots and lots of hellos there. Yes,
Hi,
talking about happy days. We've been sent some beautiful pictures here. I've got to show you these. So where is it? Where's the first one? So I wondered if you've seen this. How aware of you? Now I know some of you have listened to more Big Finish than others, but you're aware of the work of the actor Paul McGann, of course, who played the Eighth Doctor a couple of times on TV and continues to do so on audio. So here he is. Here's Paul McGann. Here's Paul McGann a few years ago, sporting his second of, I think he's got 3 different looks now that they sort of bring out on the covers of these things. But there he is with the leather jacket and the Merce over his shoulder and his very own sonic screwdriver there. If you can see it clutched in his right hand. That was designed and built by the people at Weta, who were the Lord of the Rings prop people. And they made it specifically. They designed it and made it specifically for Paul. And they gave it to him when he went for a convention because they felt that his Doctor needed his very own design of Sonic. That was generally the story, I think. Yeah, and I think because the audios had caught the guys at Weta, the audio dramas had caught their imaginations, and so they wanted to sort of help fill out, I suppose, the world of the Eighth Doctor and make it a little bit more particular to him because it's got that whole steampunk thing going on. But it didn't just catch their imaginations; it's also caught the imaginations of fans out there too. And some of them are very, very clever. So we've got one here. So this has been sent in by a friend of mine, long-standing friend of mine, and he's very, very handy. And what he's done, he went out and he bought a sonic screwdriver that you can find in the shop. So we've got this first picture here. This is what he started with. So there's the remnants of a Matt Smith Sonic that was bought in the shops there like that. On the left. And there are 3D printed parts to a Paul McGann Big Finish Dark Eye Sonic Screwdriver. I think that's what they call it. There on the left. And bit by bit started putting it together, feeding in lights and cables, and eventually painting it up. So that is the end result there. And I just thought this was absolutely spectacular. Now, my friend has got a son. He's very young. He's certainly a primary school age lad. And it's because he'd sort of latched onto the Eighth Doctor and specifically fixated on his sonic screwdriver. And of course, so putting this together over a period of time, I think it took him a few weeks for him to research the exact look. And of course, after it was done, he presented it to his son. His name's Elian. And here's the picture here. I've got it on screen.
Great.
This is the new Doctor and his new Sonic there. As you can see, he's been practicing the eyes there.
I thought you were going to say he sat on it.
Oh,
I thought you were going to say after all that, he broke it.
Yeah.
He's giving it a little bit of Capaldi there, isn't he, Charlotte, with the eyes?
yeah, he's adorable.
And isn't it just lovely to see kids of that age engaging with Doctor Who? That's what we want. Bring it on.
He's got Matt Smith's hair, he's got Peter Capaldi's eyes, and he's got Paul McGann's sonic screwdriver, which is, you could lay claim to be one of the nicest designed, I think. So yeah, I thought that was lovely. I mean, not only is it, Simon, because we've mentioned this a few times, haven't we, about 3D printing.
Yeah.
About how it blows our minds, really.
I still don't get it. I'm far too old to understand 3D printing. It's magic. To me, it is absolute magic.
Yes, so
He
I
only
thought
knows
everybody liked to
photocopying,
see
that's
that.
all he knows.
Yeah, so I thought that you guys would like to see that too. And if you've got a 3D printer, and if this is the kind of thing that you do, we'd love to see which projects you've got going on, which Doctor Who related projects, or just projects generally. Make us go green with envy, as green as the end of Elian's sonic screwdriver there. So yeah, congratulations, Elian. We hope you're going to enjoy using that. And yes, we look forward to seeing you cast as the whatever Doctor sometime in the future, maybe. But
we're all doctors now. Every single person's a doctor, aren't they? I mean, officially, it's all good. So
the Doctor can be anything these days, can't he? According to history now.
Absolutely. Hi guys. More highs in the chat. Hi, Dwayne. Yes, Dwayne is the host of the Sirens of Time podcast. That they were good enough to have me as a guest on this last week. And believe it or not, they're still talking to me, everybody. They're still talking to me. Sadako 24. 3D printing is beyond my understanding. It's not just us, Simon. It's not just us after all. I'm with same here. You need all the stuff to feed the printer. Where do you get it?
It's magic, Killian. I swear, it is magic. It just appears from thin air. That's the only
could it be dust, JT? Do you think that's what it is?
Dust?
Yeah. Is it the recycling of dust?
No, I think what they do is they put a big sheet of plastic in one end, and then it goes through the machine, and it comes out the other as whatever you want it to be. I think that's how it works.
Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it works.
Great panel today.
Like an Iron Man suit and everything. You can do anything on those things. It's crazy.
Yeah, you got yours that way, didn't you? It took you ages to print that thing off.
Yeah, it did. All right.
Yes, thank you. Yes,
he wears it on Saturday evenings.
And we've got Matt Potts just checking.
Hello, Matt.
Hello, Matt.
We've got Matt Potts just checking in.
I can't wait that way.
In the chat too. And
yeah. Sirens of audio, Dan. Sirens of audio. You can't even get it right if you're on the show.
The heat is affecting us all, Dwayne. We're not like you guys in Tasmania. We're not used to it. We're not used to it at all. Exactly. But yeah, it's the Sirens of audio. Sorry, I do keep getting that mixed up. Okay, yeah, it's Doctor Who's all over Twitter, everybody, and Doctor Who is quite often all over Twitter, and because obviously Twitter is, for all its successes, it's a bit of a home to the creative community, and Doctor Who fans are very, very creative. And that creativity extends from what we've just been looking at, really, from 3D printing and painting and digital art and cosplay and all those things. It's all, that's why I kind of enjoy Twitter for all that it's. I know.
You're on your own.
Yeah,
exactly.
all life is on Twitter, but I have noticed.
All weird life is on Twitter.
Okay, yeah.
If Angela Rippon's not on it, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Angela Rippon, let's go back a bit. Yes, so there's been Doctor Who news over the last few days, and this particular story broke, I think it was either Friday or Saturday, when the cover to the Doctor Who annual for 2021 was revealed. Now, this is out on September the 2nd, and this is what it's going to look like this time.
That's lovely.
You think
Yes,
so?
that logo.
This caused quite a stir.
Why?
And because
Why?
it's been, yes, but it's being published in September. It's being published in September, and it's up for pre-order now. But the problem is, of course, it's 2022. Doctor Who is on screen. There's a new season about to begin. We're only a few months in the rearview mirror, that last special. We've got new episodes to air, and we are technically in the middle of an era. And yet there's no Doctor on this cover for the very first time. There is no Doctor on the cover of the Doctor Who annual. That is a big deal. Now, I noticed this instantly.
Thank God.
I noticed this instantly. I noticed this instantly, and I think most people did too. I mean, not only is it a very stark and very simplistic design, but it is massive, absolutely massive for a Doctor not to be on the cover of this annual. Here's just a few. I think this is everything up to 2011.
It's continued along at the bottom. Sorry,
and
it just looked like Shaken Stevens.
But it's continued along these lines since. But JT, not having the Doctor on the front cover of an annual, it is monumental, isn't it? And it speaks volumes.
Totally and utterly. The message is very much there. And it's amazing how this whole Twatterami have gone mental since Monday morning. I know all about this book cover, because this book cover was tweeted by Paul Lang out of sheer innocence, because he's written the contents, of which he is very insistent that JW appears in every page within the book. But as we all know, and as we have said on many, many occasions, anything with her face on it does not sell the merchandise. And the sales of the annual have gone down over the last few years, from even the Capaldi sales from what would that be? That would be the 2018 annual, wouldn't it? And then it's gone down. Last year, I was seeing the Doctor Who annual for 50 pence in various WH Smith and Tesco's, and I wasn't going to buy that then either. So this shouldn't be a shock to anybody, but of course the small contingent of Jodie fans, it's a huge insult and a huge controversy. But the rest of us who have any sort of amount of common sense know they're just following what everybody else has been doing.
Yeah, I think that the rest of us, as soon as we saw that design, it pretty much sealed the deal, really, that Doctor Who, as a brand, never mind as a TV show for a while, obviously the TV show does come first, but as a brand, as a line of merchandise, as an intellectual property that's got to make money, because people buy licenses, don't they, to make merchandise, Simon. That's what they buy, licenses from the BBC to make Doctor Who annuals, Doctor Who mugs, Doctor Who t-shirts, or whatever. They pay a fee for those rights, and depending on the value of the brand, obviously dictates how much a license would cost. So these are actually published by Penguin Books, I believe, aren't they, rather than BBC Books? Yeah. So Penguin would have paid for the license, and it would have been their decision what goes. They would have commissioned Paul Lang, wasn't it? They would have commissioned Paul Lang to write it, and they will ultimately decide what goes on the cover. Not the BBC, not Chris Chibnall. They may well approve it.
They approve it, yes.
Yeah.
That's the big thing about it as well. All images on these merchandises, whether it goes from the character options figures to the magazine cover to the annual to any cassettes, the CDs, whatever, it's always approved by the BBC.
Yeah,
the simple fact.
There was also another bit of merch that they're releasing, like classic stories with Doctors put in, and it was a Jodie story, and they put Missy on the cover of that book.
That's
wow.
The Wonderful Doctor of Oz, is it called?
Wonder of Doctor of Oz,
week,
wow. And the Tennant book, which is like a Camelot, by the looks of it, Arthur story, that's got 10 front and centre, but on Jodie's book, it's Missy. So it's like the double punch of those, of that and the Admiral.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, it's as though somebody has twigged to what we've been saying since the first series. So somebody has actually went, oh, hang on a minute. Look at these figures. This isn't selling. The show isn't working, and that's part of the bigger picture, isn't it? Well,
exactly.
we all know the show has flopped. It hasn't worked. It needs to come off the air. It needs to have that rest. Everybody working on it now, as we've always discussed, they need to go. And it's as though, and I think this is what's upsetting various people on Twitter. I think they are suddenly realizing, oh, hang on a minute, what are you admitting here?
Well, I think the other thing is
I won't admit it though.
This cover, the annual cover, really shows panic on my part from where I'm standing, because if you think back to when we were trying, they were trying to sell us this idea of Jodie as the Doctor. It was Jodie everywhere. I mean, we got sick of those generic pictures of her, and there were rainbows everywhere and multicolored planets spinning everywhere. And it was basically an explosion in a paint factory, a multicolored paint factory.
You know, you're right.
Whereas this is on extreme, and you could see what market they were trying to go for. And now they've gone completely against that, and we've gone for this really bland, uninspiring, generic, as somebody else said in the chat earlier, generic cover that doesn't actually appeal to anybody. It's so bland, it wouldn't insult anybody, but it wouldn't offend anybody. But that shows the crisis of confidence
with
on their part.
With the dawn of the Whittaker era, they did try and move the brand forward.
Yes.
Whereas this iconography... Yes, this iconography is, we've got the glyphs there again. You see that glyphs. Glyphs are, I don't know about Moffat era. The glyphs are the RTD era, really.
Yes. But they were the same. They were the same with Moffat to an extent as well, Dan, weren't they? Because they, even in the show themselves, they used the Gallifreyan text in inverted commas.
But whatever, this is definitely not Jodie Whittaker style. You know, the unicorns and the rainbows are out, apparently.
Thank God. Bear in mind as well that Danilo, who published the calendars, got wind of this a couple of years ago. And what they did, of course, last year, as we've spoken about on the show, is that where originally they would have had 2 calendars up until Whittaker and Chibnall came along, they would have had the original Doctors up until Smith, and then they would have had Capaldi's calendar. Well, when Whittaker comes along, the 2 ranges, you've got a pure one about Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall's era, and then you've got the second one, which was the previous Doctors, with Whittaker shoehorned in as though they were forcing her onto that market. So yeah, there's Lothoff saying about the calendar. But again, as I found out, and as we've discussed before, the figures were not good for Danilo last year when it came to the sales of their calendar with the past Doctors with her shoehorned in. So it'd be interesting to see how they're reacting, because they will be announcing their calendar range from July onwards.
The simple fact is, guys, that people do not buy these books, and it's simply because that they are not as invested in the series anymore.
Correct.
Because Jodie Whittaker's era, everything that Chris Chibnall has put out has been the sort of whatever anti-Viagra is for the fandom. This is it. This is a guarantee that people will not pre-order. People will not pay. They will not pay out their money. And just as there is not a market for food that no one eats, there isn't a market for books that no one reads or even want to have on their shelves, is there, Ian?
Yeah, it's a shame because it's obvious what's happening, and the BBC obviously won't admit that this era of Doctor Who is a huge failure. Of course, they won't admit that, but it also mirrors what happened in Marvel as well with Captain Marvel, where they're trying to shoehorn her into an already 10-year established hero base, and this is what they're trying to do with Jodie. They're trying to shoehorn her into the popular Doctors. I mean, everybody, of course, Capaldi's years wasn't as popular, say, as Matt or David's, but at least he was on the cover of his own annual. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. This one, it's just that she's not there. But I think it's very kiddified, that design, isn't it?
Well, it is the
annual. Yeah,
the annuals now, though. Originally, when it was the Doctor Who Adventures team, which that magazine, of course, was supposed to be a comic for the younger market. It was released back when Tennant was there, and then it came through. They did try to relaunch it in the Whittaker era, and it flopped huge. It was a massive flop. And I don't know if people remember that. And it didn't help, Simon, that it had bloody sticker sheets, girl power, fluffy rainbows, all that nonsense. Please get gone. So the adventures flop, but that's where the annual is very much. And if you look at the comic strip, Ian, if you can actually find some gloves, lift this up when it's released and have a look at it. The artwork for myself is not as imaginative as it should be in an annual, and it's certainly not what we were all brought up with, that beautiful, gorgeous, good old fashioned art in the proper annuals. It is a kid's book.
They used to have, if you go back into the 70s, the Doctor Who annuals in the 70s, they sometimes have really good paintings of, say, Patrick Troughton, or, do you know what I mean, on the cover and stuff like that. I remember looking in the catalogue circling the Doctor Who annual in the catalogue.
Yeah. Well, they used to be. Remember that? They used to be very, very thick annuals. Now they're down to around 40 pages. That's the industry standard.
I know.
But
$7.99.
But to have an intellectual
$7.99
property,
annual.
See, Star Wars does this in between big movies, doesn't it? If there's not a big movie in cinema, or there has been within a 6-month period, because they put out an annual every year too, and if there's nothing specific to promote within a certain boundary, they will put something generic on a Star Wars annual, like a TIE fighter or a Death Star. They'll put something emblematic on the front like that, but never when there's something to promote. We are about to go into we've just had a special. There's plenty of imagery from that special with the Daleks in that I can never remember the name.
You call that special?
We've got an entire season coming up now. I'm sure that they could have let them have 1 or 2 brand new pictures, maybe. Maybe if Christian can lend anybody a hand at all with a license for this brand. Well, but I believe, because a few weeks ago I saw this listed in a trade solicitations. And there was a cover for the 2022 annual that did have Jodie Whittaker on it.
Wow!
So it was put up for order for people in the trade. I would imagine. I don't know who does that anymore, but Comic Co used to do it. I can't remember the name of the company that do it now. So I saw the original cover to the 2022 annual, even if it was just a placeholder. But somewhere along the line, they haven't decided, this year we'll just have a big TARDIS because it'll be different. It'll be we're going simplistic. That I don't believe that was the decision at all. Somewhere on the line, somebody has looked at that and thought, we need to turn these sales around. Yes. This character is not popular. Get her off the cover.
Also, that cover you may have seen with JW on it would have been a holding frame anyway, while the proper cover was being designed, as you know. Because what happens, of course, is that when you go to in the old days it used to be just booksellers, but now any Tom, Dick, or Harriet will take a book. Anybody can take these in. You can find them in garden centres now, can't you? But anybody can order them. But to get the sales orders in from the likes of Waterstones, etc., I can't think of any other booksellers these days, to be honest. But they have to have the trade catalogue in early February to start placing the orders for the annuals that come out in August. So that would have been there. But also the other thing about this is the importance of the look of the annual, the look of any book, for the magic word you said there, Dan, for sales. Because especially with annuals, who tends to buy the annuals? It tends to be grandpa or grandma or mum and dad for young children. And that's what would have hit over the last few years. If the kids have decided, we don't like this new version of Doctor Who, then the parents and the grandparents are very aware of that. So anything with that image on will not be bought. If it's just the generic of the TARDIS, you may see an increase, a slight increase in the book.
Yeah, because the contents, and for all we know, I mean, Paul, he says he's written the contents to suit this Doctor, but what are the illustrations like inside? Are they similarly styled? Is it all more suggestion and iconography than actual imagery from the show? We don't know until we get a look.
Well, you may get some of the photos in there. You may get photos in there, but they certainly wouldn't put them on the front cover because that's the one everybody's going to see and go, I'm not buying her.
Yeah, but does anyone care though what's in it? Do you know what I
mean? No.
I think there are collectors. There are collectors who'll buy anyway, aren't there, Charlotte? The collectors will buy this thing anyway.
Oh yeah.
No.
Well, no. Here's what I think the BBC has finally come to the rock in the hard place. At the beginning of this era, they didn't want the established fans. They wanted the new fans. They wanted the activists. They wanted the feminists. That's the audience they were playing to. And now, ever since the end of Series 11, let's be honest, they've been gradually tipping back to the old fan base. And I think now they're in a full-on what do we do moment, because the fans they've been caught in are now turning on them. That's what I've noticed. They're now turning on them.
You're right, Charlotte. Certainly since Monday as well. I mean, what's come through there has been incredible when it comes to the turn. I think this is part of a bigger picture though myself. It's like we've said on this show before. We've said it right from January before. I think this is the part of the thing. I think it's coming off air, and I think it's going to come off air very shortly after these 8 episodes in whatever form, whether they split it or whatever. That's the bigger picture.
That is where the story starts to take an interesting turn, because this story did go mainstream on the 13th. So this is 2 days ago. Made it into the Mirror. This would have been the Sunday Mirror, wouldn't it? So this is in the Mirror, and they go with Jodie Whittaker removed from cover of Doctor Who Annual as she prepares to quit. So the annual cover is the first not to feature the current Time Lord in the show's 57-year history, despite her being
not a Time Lord anymore.
They are so out of touch.
And they go with it too. So this is widely read. And of course, it was just a listing. All talk about the whys and the wherefores was going on in social media, on fan forums. The Mirror went with this. They said the decision to drop her comes as she prepares to depart the show after the next series, which is currently filming. But her exit is likely... But her exit is likely to be later than expected, with insiders saying she will appear in 2 specials next year before regenerating into the 14th Doctor. One source, as always unnamed, told the Mirror every Doctor Who annual since 1964 has featured the current Doctor. So this is a big departure. It's no coincidence that it's happened just as she's on the way out. I think it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that she's on the way out. I think Penguin are looking at their sales for the rest of the year per quarter, what they need to make by this time next year. Yeah, they may not even have the license next time, but absolutely. We came back from our break a month ago here on Type 40 Live, and we were saying right away, because there were some rumours back then, this is exactly what we were saying. As you were saying, JT, they're currently filming 8 episodes in a whole block. Those will not be shown all at once. We know at least one of them. One of them will be held over until New Year. We said this a month ago. I strongly suspected that the actually 2 of them would be held over, and so we would get one special, because they say the 2022 specials, you see. So it only has to air on New Year's Day, and then again at some point over the following Christmas for those to be within 2022. I guessed that they were going to actually put both specials out on successive New Years, and as far as I'm reading here, Simon, this backs up everything that the whispers that we've been hearing and the conclusions that we've drawn based on what we know is physically happening with BBC Studios in Cardiff and Penarth at the moment.
Yeah, and I still strongly suspect that what will actually happen here is, as we've talked about and JT's already just mentioned, I think that whatever happens, they will at some point soon, at the end of this run of 8, they will regenerate her, but you just won't see who she regenerates into. It will be a cliffhanger. They'll end on her regenerating, and they'll leave it at that. And if they've got any sense at all, they'll rest the show for at least a year, really 2, 3, 4 years. Yeah. But again, as we've talked about in the past, they've got this difficulty that the 60th anniversary is coming along, and they've kind of got to do something in that year. So, but I'm not. All I'm saying is, I think the 8 episodes will end with a regeneration, and you won't see who she regenerates into.
Do you know what, Simon? I've seen a lot of this.
Into JT. She regenerates into JT. That's what
darling. I do it, and I would be a lot better. I'll tell you. Listen, this whole thing about the 60th. I'm not so sure. I mean, I've seen a lot of this, obviously, on Twitter over the last couple of days. Oh, wouldn't it be great? She comes back for the 60th. Oh, she's got to stay till the 60th. Blah, blah, blah. There doesn't have to be anything for the 60th, because we didn't have anything for the 30th, and we didn't have anything for the 40th, and we all survived. No. But, you know, the reason that they are keeping these 8 episodes, whether they do 4 this year or 4 next year or 6 this year and 2 next year, they're not specials because they're already recorded. They're just part of what's already gone in the can. But what we're looking at there is simply... the reason they're doing it is so that they can turn around and say she did 5 years as the Doctor. She was hugely successful. Yippee! Yeah. And it'll be down to us as fans to put that information right in the forthcoming years. You heard it here. Spacebookers, we will have to have that responsibility.
Because Charlotte, the narrative has to be that she made that lasting contribution. That needs to be maintained, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, here's the thing. I've always said this. Whittaker was a political
Speak up louder.
Appointment.
Can't hear you.
Whittaker was a political appointment. She wasn't chosen for her skills. She was chosen for politics.
That's right.
So because of that, she has to be successful.
Yes.
But you know what's funny? If she's so successful, why isn't she promoting Time Fracture? Why is Joe Martin doing all the promotion for that?
Because BBC still wants a woman in front of Doctor Who, and
I forgot about the other one.
Jodie's not very popular. That's why. So
well, neither's Joe Martin, because she certainly doesn't count. She doesn't count. Whittaker doesn't count. Martin doesn't count. Oh, 2 hashtags. Let's start those. Oh, it reminds me of 96 again.
They're not going to put a man in front, are they?
I will stand up for it. Because Joe Martin's Doctor and that actress and that character has, I mean, this, in my view, from that moment, that was when Chris Chibnall really shot himself in the foot creatively. Yeah. Because regardless of what we think of that character, the fact that it even exists or not, and whatever we think about the actress herself, her work, we've seen her in other things, or we don't know who she is or whatever else, regardless of that fact, by dropping in that character, by creating her and dropping her into the show, Chris Chibnall effectively sabotaged this entire era because there was somebody. Jodie Whittaker was instantly upstaged by and outclassed by an actress who, at the very, very least, whatever you think of the concept of a fugitive doctor, whatever you think, you could tell that Joe Martin understood the part, and you can tell now on social media and the way that she reacts, the way that she interacts with people, she respects the fan base too, which instantly it's made Jodie Whittaker's Doctor old news. I mean, I don't say that to be cruel, but that is kind of human nature. And this is something that I believe that Chris Chibnall could have seen this coming.
He saw it coming. Do you know what?
Giving him some intelligence.
He's going to him and Chibnall and Jodie are going to be known as the people that put a full stop to Doctor Who in the future. That's what they're so stupid. They just can't see it. They can't see that in the future. People are going to say they're the ones that stopped Doctor Who. Do you know what I mean?
Ian, that's not the future. That's happening now. That is a fact now, isn't it? You and I have had this chat. We know that it's right now. That is Chibnall killed Doctor Who. Yeah. Forget everybody else. Forget Michael Grade. Forget Powell. Forget JNT. Chibnall killed it. Yeah. Moffat started to bury it, and then Chibnall just put the final nails in and threw the soil on top. This is it. This is the end.
The shovel. Moffat had the shovel.
Yeah, this is absolutely it. The only way you can get it back to where it needs to be now, as we've talked about before, is you have to retcon this entire era, a lot of it.
There's so many ways you can do it.
And although those are strong words, and we've all got fairly, I'd say, strong, fervent opinions. We know why we believe what we believe. I don't wish to speak for all of you, but I think that's the general tone here. And we're happy if you believe differently, if your tastes are different, your view of it is different. We do understand that and we respect that. But these are our views. This is how we're reading the situation, not just as long-term fans, but as people who have got eyes and ears and who've got wallets or purses where we want to spend our money on this stuff. We are invested in this brand, in this line, in this character. Like the man says, we're simply fans of this show, and we wanted it. We want it to thrive and to survive. But as this story has rolled out, I mean, here we are drawing conclusions, everybody, which I think are not only reasonable, but they are really, really clear. You know, if this was all on one of those boards in Unit HQ with bits of string all tied between pins, it'd be very, very clear what had caused this, just as JT said. And yet some fans, God love them, over on Twitter are kind of a little bit, they're blaming everybody. Yeah. They're saying the claim I'm seeing over the last 24 to 46 hours, Charlotte, is that the BBC has never supported Jodie Whittaker in this role. And what do they expect? They've never got behind her. It's shocking because they're sexist. It's shocking because they didn't promote the character. I couldn't. I'm not directing this at any individuals in particular, but I was astounded, Charlotte, when I read that. Did you see that too?
Oh yeah, I saw that, and I was just like, guys, have you forgotten Series 11? Have you forgotten how much it was everywhere? Have you forgotten
the glass ceiling?
How that
I know you would, Matt.
Oh yeah.
So they've all.
Oh, sorry, Charlotte.
Like I said, what's happened is they're finally seeing that the BBC wants to make money with this franchise, so they're running away, and now it shocks them all. And they have supported Whittaker. What do you think the Timeless Child was? That was designed to make sure all those male doctors don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
That is the support they gave to Whittaker.
And it was a major, major mistake. It was like setting fire. It was like burning the house down whilst you're still in it. But Charlotte, what I was thinking about, I mean, there is, we're talking about could it come back eventually, but the fact is that although, I mean, you could bring back a TV show when hoping that the audience had forgotten a particularly long and drawn out car crash, but on the other hand, an intellectual property like this, if we look back at the annual, they're going to need to leave it a certain length of time because they won't be able to sell licenses again to Penguin Books or Funko Pops. They're not going to be able to sell licenses back to those people until the dust settles on this and the brand sort of retrieves some of its financial credibility. Is that?
Yeah, and
first
what
thing
they'll
you
do.
is...
Yeah, that's
Sorry, go
what
ahead.
Time Lord. I honestly think Time Lord Victorious was a dry run for
Oh,
what
yeah.
they're going to do for the next.
Dry is right.
Years.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's the idea of let's go back, let's go to the male doctors, let's focus on bits of the law that haven't been filled yet. The more I've thought
Good
about
point.
it, I think Time Lord Victorious was a dry run.
Yeah, you could be right. I think that's interesting, Charlotte, from a business point of view as well as a collector's point of view. I'd like us to look at that because that could possibly be something in it. But Dan, to answer your point there about what to do in the future, the thing they'll have to do in the future now is forget about the merchandise side of stuff first. You need to bring the viewers back, the British public, the great British public, the confused great British public have to come back to this wonderful show, and they will forget Jodie Whittaker very quickly. That's why it has to be taken out of the series continuity to make sure that the bad part of it isn't referenced in the future, to remind the public. And then when you've got the viewing figures to say, look, we've just done two or three TV movies for Christmas 23 or whatever, and they've been getting 9 to 10 million in, that's when you start to approach your licensees to say, will you kiss their ass, you grovel to them and say, would you like to come in and help us with merchandise? That's how you do that bit.
I mean, Ian, what I wanted to talk to you about was the fact that we've been watching this very, very closely, all of us here on Type 40. But I think that one of the ways in which Chris Chibnall's production team, and I'm going to have to mention his name because he does. I've never met the gentleman. He's probably a really nice guy, but I think he's positively ran this franchise into the ground commercially and creatively. And I think that just in the simplest of things, I'm laughing at JT's fart cloud, just the simplest of things, just keeping the audience, that dedicated audience of you guys out there, whether you're shaking your head in disapproval of what we're saying or nodding, we are the audience, we are the fan base, we are a community, we're not an army. We don't all believe
we used to be,
but we are. But we're a community. And the thing is, Ian, that he's sort of left the community to amuse themselves for months and months and months on end. And as creative as we are, you need to throw the community the odd morsel, to the point where, I don't know if you saw this, to the point where that this was latched onto a few days ago. Just this simple picture of the cast out hugging, presumably in a break between filming. The fandom was all over this. What's it mean? Is she upset? Is Jodie Whittaker upset? What were they saying to one another? What's going on? And really, to a ridiculous extent, I mean, these people work long hours together. They know one another. They're any one of a number of reasons that two colleagues are having a hug. I don't think it necessarily says anything negative that the actress was upset or anything about. But the fact that it was latched onto, I think that speaks volumes to you.
Yeah, I have some insiders that's actually telling me what's actually happening in the Doctor Who, and it's not. They're mostly not happy. Put it that way. I can't say any more than that, but but not referring to this picture, obviously. But I have an insider. In general, I have an insider saying that they're not happy with the progress, not happy with. In fact, I've heard someone say that. Jodie's agent wants her out of Doctor Who because it's destroying her. It's destroying her career. Yeah, they wanted to move forward in her career, but Doctor Who's really keeping her back, and it's not very popular. So they want her out. They're desperate to get her out. So wouldn't be too surprised if she did leave after these episodes.
And we are reaching the point now where, in fact, it's any day now. Okay, so production is about to wrap up on these episodes. I think it's within the next 3 or 4 weeks on this block. Jodie Whittaker is out of contract also very soon too. As you say, they are show business is a business. Actors have representation. They're going to be, any agent worth their salt, Simon, will be looking at booking their talent, their next gig, and they will want the studios, the employers, to know that their client is available, won't they?
Well, yeah, and not only that, but what I was going to say was any agent worth their salt would be concerned for the fact that their client is in a dying franchise that's clearly not doing that client any favours at all, and they're aware they've got to kind of resell Jodie Whittaker out to the greater the greater television community. And try to distance her, and they're aware now that she is going to have this Doctor Who baggage with her, whether she likes it or not, whether it's a success or a failure. She is now forever going to be attached to Doctor Who, and they're going to be reminded of that. So the agent is going to be thinking, wow, we've got to find her something really good, solid, cast iron guarantee of a success.
That's right for her as well.
Absolutely. To kind of move on immediately. They always say, there is a saying in film and television, you're only as good as your last job. Well, unfortunately, her last job is not good, which is why they're going to need to give us something really good next time to eradicate the memories of Doctor Who within the eyes of the television production world.
I can't think of the last time I saw somebody fail this spectacularly in a role. And here's an actress who I've always enjoyed in other things in various capacity. I thought she was great in Broadchurch. I liked her in Attack the Block. I thought she played that beautifully. Various other shows where she could sort of sink into a part. But this was, I believe, way beyond her reach. I feel that she made good choices before, and one has to wonder what was different about this part.
The thing is, though, it was her mistake as well, because she didn't really investigate the actual Doctor. She didn't do her homework. So she just in there, because she said this 1,000 times on loads of interviews, that she didn't want to see what the Doctor, she just came in and played it the way she wanted to play it, obviously like a kid's entertainer, and that's what she did. So she's only got herself to blame, really. She
said on Tennant's podcast that there was no, well, I'm paraphrasing now, but there was no point in watching 12 males that had gone before her when she was going to do it differently. I mean, what I reckon she did it for was simply look at the success. We're going to come to Karen Gillan very soon, but look at the success of people that have been in Doctor Who beforehand, breaking America. Billy Piper broke America. Catherine Tate broke America. Karen Gillan, Matt Smith have done fantastically well doing this. That was the big thing. It doesn't work like that anymore.
I personally feel we do need to cut a bit of slack over this whole watching previous Doctors business, because I think it's very unlikely that Tom Baker watched the first 3 Doctors, that Peter Davison watched the first 4, etc. They might have done, but it's unlikely they did, because if they are good actors, you don't need to watch what has gone before. You would be a good enough actor to stamp your authority.
But Simon, you have to watch the others just to get the tone and the feel of what the show's all about, and don't you? I mean, like even Tom looked at John Pertwee's stuff. He looked at a bit of John Pertwee's stuff. Obviously, he wanted to play it the way he wants to play. And Matt Smith, he investigated the whole history of Doctor Who to try and get the tone of the Doctor, and that was the whole point. And Jodie didn't do any of that, right? So she didn't even watch the show. So,
I agree with you, Ian. I mean, when Colin Baker was announced, of course, he went on to every show going, and the thing he always said was he'd watched the previous 5 incumbents of the role simply to get the essence of the Doctor. And I love the way Colin presented that, the essence. And we often say that, when you look at the portrayals up to this current one, there is a certain similarity that runs through them all. And I think if you can capture that as an actor, you're actually earning your money just in that bit, to be able to say, that's the bit I need to just, that little teeny weeny bit, whether it be a glance or a look or a I don't know.
But to clarify, I can see that garbage in the chat has just disagreed with me because they've got to understand the character. Now, to clarify here, of course they've got to understand the character. That's not what I'm saying. That's Chibnall's job, to brief her on what the character is.
No, but as an actor, you've got to do your homework as well.
Garbage.
As an actor, you've got to do your homework as well. You can't just come on day one and not investigate the character or even thought about the character. And all the interviews indicated that she refused because of this feminine agenda stuff. She didn't want to go down the route of those men that came before her. She didn't want any help from those men that came. That's what it's all about, and that's her mistake.
I said, I'll
Charlotte?
always remember when they always do like a first interview, don't they? Once they're announced, they do a sit down like first interview. And I'll always remember the first things that came out of her mouth was, as a feminist, I'm excited for this role.
Was it really?
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I said, love, it's your politics shouldn't affect how you treat this role.
See, we couldn't say that, Charlotte. We won't be able to say that. We'd get arrested. In fact, I think I hear the police on the way to get us now, to be honest. But yeah, you know, we can't say that anymore.
Sorry, token female. But I saw that, and I really put my head in my hands because I said, "Love, you should be excited because this is a legacy role.
Yeah,
because this is one of the most important roles in British television.
It is.
Well said, Charlotte.
Well, that of course, Charlotte, is why. That of course is why she took the role. You know, we've just said that she took the role. She took previous roles. She made good choices, and this role she made a bad choice. But the truth of it is, she took the role because, let's be honest, if any actor gets offered the part of the Doctor, they're going to take it.
Absolutely.
But he doesn't need to do it.
But as I've said before on the show, what she has now done is she has proved Tom Baker wrong.
Yes,
she's been the first to fail and fail spectacular. Yes. So, Tom, darling, I know you're watching. You can't say that anymore. she's just proved to you can't say it anymore. So go and have a nice cup of tea.
And poor old Peter Davison. Peter Davison came out and he spoke from the heart about this whole
bless
thing.
him.
And everybody set upon him and stuff like that. Now, what have those people got to say? What have they got to say now about what he said?
Interesting to find out, wouldn't it?
It was awful to watch.
Yeah,
but they've been ripping the rest of us apart. I mean, that was just that small section that came for all of us, and now they're all crying. And part of me is enjoying every second.
Well, you know what?
Let's go to the next quote.
I feel sorry for those people that like Jodie. I really do. And you know what? Right? I always say this: Jodie's not a bad actress. She's just been put in a bad situation. That's what I think.
She's a bad actress. She's a bad actress.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Well, the Radio Times reached out to the BBC to ask about the state of play at Doctor Who. So yeah, obviously the Radio Times have got this sort of relationship with Doctor Who. They've got them on the other end of the phone, for heaven's sake. So this is what they got back based on the story in the Mirror, and it said the BBC declined to comment on the story. But Radio Times did add this pearl of wisdom. So nothing is set in stone at this stage.
Oh, I've heard this before.
Is it just me? Of course it's set in stone, isn't it, JT? Contracts are up. Decisions will have been made months and months ago.
Yeah, this is the flim flab flob that's coming out. This is the waffle. This is 85 all over again, just with new terminology. I love it. Bring it on. Who's writing the books? We'll write a book. We will write the book. Chronicle everything, guys. We will write this book and we'll bring it out in 6 years' time. This is going to be great.
There is definitely going to be a book. I think that's when the dust settles on this situation, I think Doctor Who will need not just a respray. It needs to go into the garage for a major retool, tool up, and if they feel so inclined, if they're even able to, with the present culture at the BBC, a total rethink of the philosophy behind the brand, who the show is actually for, the people who do watch it, the people who love it, and the people who may be affected and reached by it in the future. It's okay you having a desired audience that you would like this show to appeal to, but that is simply not how things work.
Yeah, it'll also get affected by the fact that the BBC is now definitely going to have to change. We've had the advert for those people outside the UK this week of a brand new news channel called GB News, which is stealing viewership from both the BBC and Sky for their news channels, as people are very interested here. things are changing in the United Kingdom. People are not being heard properly. There's terrible angst in the air now, which we've actually seen elements of over the last few days. A couple of weeks ago, as we mentioned on the show before, there was hundreds and hundreds of people shouting outside the BBC HQ in London, "We don't like you. We want our money back." Yep. There's a massive amount of people cancelling their licenses. If the BBC... I'm not going to say if, when the BBC has to change, that will have an effect on their programme output, and that will affect Doctor Who. There might come a time when the BBC has to admit they have to go 50-50 with an independent production company.
Bad Wolf, please, Julie Gardner, please step in. Julie Gardner, Lorraine Hegarty, please step in and save Doctor Who. Produce Doctor Who for us. I realistically, I don't care who those two ladies would cast. I would trust them every step of the way, JT. I've got no qualms about saying that. We have Derek Brady in the chat who reminded me the other day that if you are a Jodie Whittaker fan, if you've enjoyed the era, if it's worked for you on some level, we've got some good news for you. Derek Brady has been off bargain hunting in between moving home, and he's found this for you. So yes, the soundtrack CD to Series 1 of Doctor Who with that music by Sagan Akilola, the whale music, do you remember?
Yeah,
you probably don't remember.
No, I've never heard it.
But you know, if you want music to sort of fall to sleep by, there you have it. Only £1 for the completest in your family.
Yeah,
way too expensive.
I mean, that says it all, doesn't it? I mean, we have discussed, haven't we all? We've discussed on the show before that the character options 12-inch figure went down to $3.99 from $29.99. We've had certain other items going that the alleged 13th Doctor sonic screwdriver is $1.99 in certain shops around the United Kingdom now because they can't even burn the thing because of the plastic issue. You know, so that's going on. I've also heard as well, and I mentioned this on the Type 40 Facebook page, I hear that various remainder bookshops such as The Works are going to be taking any time from now onwards throughout the summer the BBC Penguin books based on the Chibnall era, and they're going to be reduced to, well, from 50p upwards.
Wow, that's
so keep your eyes out. If you're allowed out in this crazy world we're in now, if you're out, go and have a look.
What can you get for 50p now, everybody? What can you get for 50p?
Well, I don't know. I would imagine that would be sticker books, although those colouring silly things they did for the kids, and then it goes up to the novels, which I'd imagine would be half price or just under half price.
I just have to say, before we move on from merchandise, can I just quickly whip back to something that Crimpling Doubloon, if you're still watching and listening.
Love that name.
In the chat. Can we have a close up on your mug, Simon? So here is the close up on my mug.
Hey, look at
it's Tomorrow People. It's
Tomorrow
all,
People.
It's the Tomorrow People come. So there you go, Crimpling Doubloon. They are available on it. This is I can tell you now. This is come from eBay. If you look on eBay for Tomorrow People looking mug, you will find it $7.99 bargain. So there you go.
Wow. Now there was a comic. Looking was a classic for our generation. I used to get it every single week. In fact, you know what I found the other day? I actually found some of them in a box, including the one that introduces Star Wars to the world in 1977.
Your copies.
Yeah.
If you want to get pass them my way,
I'm going to stick them and flog them. Yeah, beautiful. And they had proper artwork, didn't they?
People in the chat are yearning to travel back in time
David.
to pick up some bargains there. And people explaining, yes, £1 of people, the first soundtrack released without any actual music in it. So,
that's quite funny, actually, Retro Doc. I like that.
He's not a fan. And Dwayne notices that it would be £1 to pick up that CD, but £20 postage to Australia. So maybe skip that one. And
that wasn't music; it was just whale music. It was just noise.
I saw that. It was supposed to be ambient stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah,
what didn't you guys say? It was ambient stuff. Yeah.
I kind of liked it at first. I must admit, before we leave merchandise alone altogether, we have slightly better news. This is going to cost you more than £1. That's the bad news. It's out on 16th of August, 2021. But it's very, very pretty. It's the special edition DVD Blu-ray.
Painting. Look at that.
Steelbook of the Web of Fear here. This was announced just yesterday. And as you rightly say, Ian, it's gorgeous artwork yet again from rebinding at Tea Lady Design. Beautiful.
It's really funny because when you look at that painting, you get so excited about Doctor Who, don't you? Look at that. Look at that.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
You remember why you love Doctor Who when you see that.
Yeah.
But Ian, you're absolutely right. When I saw this yesterday, when a friend of mine sent me these images yesterday as they were released, I nearly wet myself. And then I had to put myself in check to think, oh, hang on a minute, you're not buying this. So be careful. But Lee's done a wonderful design there again. Let's have it as a poster. Let's have it as a stamp. Beautiful design. The only thing for me that let this down was the bloody animation, which is just awful.
Well, let's just check what's in this yet, because the Web of Fear, of course, this is a 6-part story. There were several missing up until just a few short years ago, and there were some of them were recovered, but there is still one episode out there in the world that is missing. And so for this release, this has been substituted with brand new animation. So this is from the blurb. It says it includes all surviving episodes, so they'll be polished up for Blu-ray, no doubt, in the manner of which we become accustomed to on the Blu-ray box sets, I would imagine. And it says plus a brand new, fully animated reconstruction of that missing 3rd episode created from the surviving audio-only recordings. So this is brand new animation put to that audio. The release includes those 6 episodes available in black and white, and that newly constructed animation will be in both black and white and colour. And there's brand new special features. I'm not quite sure why, but well, fair enough. If it makes one other person buy it, I suppose it could be worth it. And it also says you get audio commentaries on all episodes, with 2 commentaries on episode 1. You get the episode 3 telesnap reconstruction if telesnaps are more your bag than animation. There's a new making of documentary, making of the animation documentary, trailers, the Missing Years documentary. That's a bit of a classic, isn't it? With Fraser Hines and Deborah Watling hosting that. And a documentary too about the many voices of Jack Woolgar. Who's Jack Woolgar, Simon?
I've no idea. Who is Jack Woolgar?
JT, I thought you'd steam him with that.
No, who's Jack Woolgar?
I don't know either. I suppose we'll find out when we pick up the DVD or the Blu-ray.
Oh, you've put me on the spot now. I'm going to find out. Give me a chance.
You know what? They could.
Yes.
There's fans that take Star Wars. Like, for instance, I just saw a version. Oh, hello. What's that?
Not me.
Sorry. I just saw a version of Empire Strikes Back that was made by a fan. So he took the original film and he added visual effects into the Walker scene and the asteroid field. You see it in a different way. He'd spend years doing this ultimate version of Empire Strikes Back. Now I wonder if there's someone out there for Doctor Who that has visual effects knowledge that can literally go in and reconstruct these things. Obviously, it'll be amazing. As long as you're
in the employ of the people that have produced it, because obviously that guy will go for Kathleen Kennedy very soon.
This guy, he's done it. He's done it, and he's working on Jedi, and he's already finished Empire, and he's done Star Wars, and obviously he's not selling them; he's just giving them away. But it's amazing what's done in that.
It's called Star Wars. It's called Star Wars Revisited.
That's right. It's brilliant. Right. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely.
Can I ask everybody, and also the Facebookers? And this is just my thought, because I saw this as a thought yesterday, and I got excited, and then I thought I'm not buying it. The reason being is, what do we think about the fact that all the content on this new release out on August the 16th, or whatever it is, will appear on the relevant series box set?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not buying it either. I've already decided. What would be the point in buying it? The BBC constantly keep trying to resell this stuff to us. They must realise that by now we've worked it out. We ain't going to buy it because we're now clearly going to wait for the Blu-ray box set. By the way, he played Sergeant Arnold. I've looked it up. He played Sergeant Arnold.
It's aimed at us, isn't it? All that stuff is aimed at us, the people that, we're diehard fan of Doctor Who. It's all aimed at us. It's not aimed at the new generation of kids growing up, because the new generation kids don't care about Doctor Who now. No. They really don't. So
here's the steelbook itself designed, this artwork that wraps around the cover of this. Nice. We've got a few scales here from the panel, Charlotte. I'm not that keen on this. You neither.
No, I was saying nice. I was like,
you
nice.
like it?
It's too simplistic. It's too simplistic, isn't it? It's too simplistic.
I think they should have kept Lee's image and gone with that. I don't like that at all. I think that's primitive, and I think it's very childish. Yeah, I think if they put Lee's on with a back panel on it, maybe with the brig and Jamie and Vic, I think that would have looked quite nice on it there as a wraparound tin.
Maybe. I've not been too sold on these steelbooks, so I've stopped buying them. But hey, I do know that some people like them. You're not alone, Charlotte. There's a lot of people do latch onto the various steelbooks that have come out over the last year, 18 months.
It's just the cover. I think the steelbooks themselves are a lovely alternative for the many collectors that love the steelbooks. I've got a few of them here myself, but that cover doesn't sell it for me. I just think it's awful. But I think I'll wait for all this gorgeous stuff they've got on there for the series box set.
Yeah, likewise.
I will be buying that. First, I'm going to review it. I'm going to review the animation. I've seen that scene of the animation. I'm very much in two minds about it. I've got thoughts about why they're doing it the way that they're doing it, which I think I'll probably save for another time now. But I mean, more Doctor Who content out there. It does do its bit, as we were speaking about earlier on, to uphold the value that is still in the brand. And it could be several years before there is a limited edition Blu-ray set. It could be 4 or 5 years. We don't know, because that line's going to carry on for a little while longer. So I can understand why people would want to maybe get involved now. And who knows, it may end up being the case that one of those features doesn't make it through to the box set. I think it's unlikely. I know it's unlikely. But it's possible. It's possible. It's what people are saying in the chat.
And in the meantime, let's hope the missing episode turns up.
Well, I think that's, again, that was the thing that struck me about it. It was we know that episode is out there. It does make you wonder. People in the chat. No, is nobody pulling the trigger on this in the chat? That people are mixed about it. It has to be said. Nice artwork, not so sure about the contents. Fair point. Yes, maybe all the episodes need to be redone in animation form. Well, they are. They're gradually doing this for both of the earlier Doctors, and this one is sneaking in there in between two more sort of full releases. I think that's how they're going with it. I completely understand why they're prioritizing and why they're giving people more steelbooks, because, like you said, JT, people just are into the habit of buying the steelbook. They've bought the actual seasons of New Who. They've bought the releases up to now. You get people like the Rabbi here watching in the chat, the Rabbi from another planet. He's into. Who knows? Yeah,
we knew he'd get it.
Can you just bring that steelbook artwork up again? Can you just bring that steelbook artwork up?
Yeah.
Because somebody's commented. Oh yeah, they're quite right. I'm just trying to find who has commented in the. Yes, garbage. Yes, you're correct. The label on the TARDIS is on the wrong door. They've got it the wrong way around.
They've looked at the wrong photographic evidence, haven't they, there, and copied it.
Garbage. I hadn't noticed that garbage, but yeah, you're right. It's the wrong side. Well done, BBC. Home goal.
On that bombshell, I think it's time we went to a break, everybody. If you haven't already, please like the video. We've got a lot of people watching, lots of comments. That's what we like to see. In fact, we've got a lot of new people following the show on Twitter and Instagram this week, and following me personally. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as the Facebook, talking about all sorts of geeky nonsense inside and outside of the TARDIS. We're about to go for our regular scheduled Type 40 break, everybody. You'll be pleased to know. So it's what we call the
get a drink, everybody.
T or P break. That's what I call it here. So before we steam into that, I saw this the other day on Twitter, and I wonder if you did too. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, because not everybody's on Twitter, despite what the BBC think. Yes, so we've got a picture here. I'm about to show you a picture of somebody who was a young Doctor Who fan back in the 80s. That person now has gone on to great notoriety in the world of film. I'm going to show you the picture now, and when we come back after the break, we're going to tell you who it is. Who is it that's dressed up as a fifth Doctor here in this picture? Have a think. You have a think while we go and enjoy these adverts together. Hold on, where's that? Here it is.
Well, that should keep you grand snug for another year.
We've got gas central heating in our house.
Oh, you'll be even snugger than your gran then.
Where's your head?
Thanks. People over the road have got central heating. They did it last week.
On your own?
No, I had a few mates to help me.
Whether you're big or small, with service care from Southern Gas, you get service that cares. Shut the door. It's a horse, darling.
a little over £11,000 to nearly 200,000 francs. The Rover 800 series.
Citizens, a revolution is upon us. A TV revolution. It's called Home Choice, and it allows you to watch what you want exactly when you want. Home Choice puts you in control of a huge selection of TV programmes, music videos and films. You control when you start your programmes. You'll never miss the start of a programme again because you're stuck in heavy traffic. There's no point shouting, I'm flat out here.
Followers of Doctor Who may be interested to know that some of his more recent adversaries are currently on display at Madame Tussauds in London and available at record shops and LP and cassette called Genesis of the Daleks.
Hello everybody, back again here in Type 40 Live's console room. So yes, we showed you this picture before the break. They're from a primary school somewhere in Great Britain in the early 80s. And there's a young Doctor Who fan there just to the left of centre, dressed as a fifth Doctor. We asked you who that was. This person has gone on to great notoriety in the world of film. Is there anybody in the chat there who's got it? Let's have a look. And, oh, I can't see anybody. Is there? Let's, no. No, we've got stony silence, everybody. Okay, well, I'll save you any more agony. This is who it is. This was film director Edgar Wright here, the director of Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, all those movies, Baby Driver.
Wow.
All those films. So there he is, yeah, a young Doctor Who fan. And I don't know if his mum would have made that for him, but proud. I'm not sure what the theme of the actual play was there, Simon. I'm trying to make it out. We've got Santas, we've got witches, we've got a bit of everything. And one
Christmas.
Paddington Bears. That's definitely a Christmas panto kind of show, I would imagine. But that kind of looks homemade. Although the jumper's very good, isn't it?
I'd say the entire costume is brilliant. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous.
He's even got the red inside the shirt. How did they manage to achieve that back in the day?
You could stitch felt inside it. That's what I did.
That's still pretty impressive to go as far as putting the felt inside.
Yes, you know.
Good.
Fans are quite strange that way, Simon, you see.
Yeah, total respect to him. Is he still a fan? Do we know? Is he?
Well, that's what I was wondering. I think he is, because he was in line. They asked him, didn't they? Charlotte, did you hear this story? Apparently Russell T Davies approached him to direct Rose back in 2004.
That would have been really weird, I think, with his style.
Yeah, his style's quite esoteric.
Rose is quite down to earth, and that was the whole appeal of it. So I think it might have weirded people out if he was directing that.
Because Shaun of the Dead had that kind of street corner angle, didn't it? That the episode Rose did have.
Yeah, but if you watch Space, it was very much the same style, wasn't it? If you watch Space, because he directed a lot of episodes of that, didn't he? Space, is it Spaced? Yeah, so it was very much that style. Yeah.
He was the man behind Spaced. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yes. So I thought, I imagine that some people had got that. It's Halloween party. Halloween, I'd say. Santa to Halloween party?
We didn't really do Halloween back in those days in the United Kingdom. Yeah. It wasn't. We went straight through from bonfire night to Christmas in those days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lucky Brat says Problem Being's been in the chat for a little while now, commented along. Good to see you there. What else?
Hello, Problem Being.
Yeah.
Hello, Problem Being.
So many of our friends here for yes. So the other topic that we've got here is Doctor Who companions. A few weeks ago, we talked about Doctor Who icons and how some of the actors, some of our legends, some of our heroes from most recent past in Doctor Who were going on to big things on the big screen, and how it's great to see. And we as a family, don't we, including the actors and the fan base, get behind them. And I thought it'd be a good idea that we focus on some of those characters too, the ones that have sort of burrowed themselves the deepest in your affections, certainly in the duration of the new series and maybe the classic series too. But when I thought back to that stream that we had a couple of weeks ago, there was one actress that we talked about probably for the most length of time, and that was Karen Gillan. And she continues to be extremely popular. She's very, how can I put this? she's very relatable, I think, everybody, as a person, despite this great fame that she's got onto since leaving Doctor Who. And obviously there's a residual affection from this show that we all love so much, and how people felt about the character that she played on Doctor Who, Amy Pond. So this is the original photograph that they put out when Karen Gillan was cast in Doctor Who back in 2009. That would have been early 2009, just before they started filming. So it was we've even got the Russell T Davies TARDIS in the back. This picture is so old, and obviously she looks very, very young, and she's got a great skin anyway, but she looks luminous there. Luminous? God, I can't speak today. She looks luminous there. But yeah, I remember her being cast. I'd seen her in things, but I hadn't known I'd seen her in. You know, she'd been in Doctor Who before Eva. But, you know, were you into Doctor Who? Were you aware of what was going on with the show when Karen was cast? And what did you think when you first saw her and heard about the character?
Yeah, I thought it was a great choice, and I love the red hair because the Doctor hasn't had a red-haired companion, has he?
Turlo.
Oh,
Turlo.
Well, we don't count.
Donna.
Why don't we count Turlo?
Donna.
Because he's not a girl. That's why he's not a girl.
Oh.
But anyway, she's gorgeous, isn't she?
Liz Shaw.
Okay, Liz Shaw, right, mate. Take it easy.
She's sort of. But she has star quality. I mean, out of everybody from Doctor Who, from the past to the present, she's the one that's really broke Hollywood. She's been in a Marvel film. She's got a film coming up. She's the star of that one. And do you think that star quality was evident from the moment they put out pictures like this?
Not really. No, I mean she's a beautiful woman. You know, got legs up to the M1 and all that, but. You know, I never thought that she was star quality, but she's proven to be someone that's actually, as you say, relatable. And she's very, very pretty. And she's got red hair, which is unusual in Hollywood because Hollywood don't like people with red hair for some reason. And, you know, she's doing very, very, very well. And good luck to her. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
She deserves it.
Charlotte, the Stephen Moffat era, the Matt Smith era in particular, that's very much your era, isn't it? What are your thoughts about Amy Pond? Now, she was in the series from 2010 right the way to 2013, wasn't she? The end of 2012. Sorry. So it was quite a big stint compared to new series companions up to that point. So that marked a big change. As somebody watching the new series then, because you hadn't seen the classic show at that point, had you? And the companions had been in there a year at a time. Was the longer time to get to know the character? Do you think that's one of the reasons why Amy Pond has gone on to be one of the most sort of enduringly popular of the Doctor's companions?
I honestly think it's the genius of Moffat's setup of meeting the Doctor as a child.
Yeah.
I think that was so different from Rose, from Martha, from Donna. It was this, and let's be honest, we all sort of see the Doctor as like this imaginary friend almost, because we get that close to the character. And I just think her chemistry with Matt as well, like they've all had chemistry, the Doctors and their companions, but you just got this feeling that her and Matt instantly clicked. And I sort of said, I think ages ago on the stream, like, how do we meet Amy? She whacks the Doctor in the face with a baseball bat. Like that is like, that's how you introduce a companion.
Not a baseball bat.
Oh,
cricket bat.
What was it? A cricket bat? Well,
yeah.
In the head with something hard and wooden. Yeah. So the character.
That fire. Yeah, I think that fire. Like we had a fire with Donna, but I think she was a different type of fire, and it just really got people thinking this is a different companion. We've not also. There was a bit of the romance stuff which I didn't like, but it was quickly like taken to bed, and I think that also worked. That it was a proper friendship. It wasn't romance. So it's a lot of things.
Because they set it up that, as you said, the character of Amy Pond was supposed to have been born in 1989, and she first meets the Doctor properly in 1996. So she's 7 years old, and the way that they play out the way they introduce her character, really, it fits completely with Moffat's take on the show. For me, Charlotte, has always been like a picture book. I always say, rather than a fairy tale, I say a picture book. And the character of Amy Pond, from the way that she looks with her, as I said, this sort of the pure skin, the red hair, and even the name, she seems like somebody out of a children's story.
Oh yeah, it's like I love Matt's doctor. Like Matt's my doctor, and I refer to him as the Peter Pan doctor, because I think that feeling of never growing up, of being like this kid in like this grown-up's body. And I think also Amy worked because throughout the whole series, she grounded Matt. She grounded that sort of really energetic kid doctor at times. Some of my favourite moments is when she's basically like not shouting at him, but like laying the law with him and saying no, don't. And he needed that, Matt's doctor.
Because he leads, doesn't he, with this thirst to show her all of the universe. And in her second episode, The Beast Below, that starts, does it, with them kind of doing a float outside of the TARDIS, doesn't it? And that's all looks like it's been illustrated as well, with her hair sort of waving in the vortex like that. And I think it was a way of, partly I think that the relationship that the 10th Doctor had got with Donna, of that best friends, I think this was an extension of that idea, and even though there were those romantic overtones in, they did flirt with that, but it did get sidelined, didn't it?
The bit where he was holding her hand, she was floating. That was quickly telling you that she trusted him within that small space of time, and I thought it was really, really well put. So I mean, who would let them hold on to an alien float outside of space? I wouldn't do it personally. Would you? I've just met this guy and he's told me he's an alien. This is a spaceship made out of wood. Would I hold his hand and float into space? And I think that scene just told you, it spoke volumes. That one scene told you that she trusted him 100%.
Yeah,
I think that was very clever.
You also had that scene in the 11th hour where she puts the tie in the car door.
Yeah. Trust me for 20 seconds or whatever it is. Yeah, 20
grabs
minutes.
her hand, and it's Matt's acting as well as Karen. But Matt just looks at her and says, "Just trust me." And I think that the earnestness of Matt, and like I said, that's why I think of Peter Pan, because it's sort of, that's what I think of Matt, and that's why I adored 11.
Well, she was faced with logic, because how could you dispute the fact that this is the same apple I gave you X amount of years ago? And look at it, it's still fresh. She couldn't dispute it, could she? And that's why she had to basically let him go. So, that was a pretty clever bit of writing there. So there you go.
JFO in the chat says, I think she was 21 when she was cast. She did so well for someone so young, especially coming off the back of arguably the most popular era with Tennant. Her and Matt did so well. It must have been really daunting, hadn't it, Simon? Because the popularity of the show and that huge two-part story over the previous New Year, The End of Time, it would seem that it had got so big, both on screen and off, for them to follow that. You could say that for Karen stepping into it, she had probably less to lose than anybody, but it still must have been very daunting for a 21-year-old woman.
God, I think it must have been absolutely terrifying because, putting it in context as you've just done, it was coming off an absolutely huge period of the show. Everybody at that point knew of Doctor Who. It was hugely popular with David Tennant in there. And so for both Karen Gillan and Matt Smith, and indeed Arthur Darvill, to come in and take over the reins must have been terrifying and daunting. And I have to be honest, I am not a big Amy Pond fan. She's far from my favourite companion. It's far from my favourite era. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that this is what Doctor Who is all about. It is all about reinvention. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
I wonder what era you're talking about.
but that's what Doctor Who is about, and the difference between that last Tennant year and then the Matt Smith era that comes along immediately after it is enormous. It's a massive chasm. It feels like an entirely new show, and good on them. That's what they should have done. And my favourite scene, as I say, I'm not an enormous fan of Amy Pond, But my favourite scene of all of it is in that first. It's the 11th hour, isn't it? First
11th hour. Yeah.
When she's dressed as the policewoman, and what I mean, you're going to have to help me because it's a long time and I haven't watched it since. But as I recall, the doctor mistakes her for a police officer. And she says, no, she's a kissogram or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's just like, whoa. Now, I'm not a big fan of Stephen Moffat, but I give him that one because it made me laugh out loud.
Great episode.
It was a genius moment.
I think Moffat's writing gave Karen every opportunity to play dress up, really. From that moment onwards, the character has become iconic in a way that I think very few have. I look at Ace and to a much greater extent Leela, where the looks of them going from place to place to place, playing dress up wherever they go. I think of, for example, Leela in Talons of Weng Chiang. I think there was we got a different mix of Leela there. And the same when we see Ace in Ghostlight in that dress, but with the boots underneath the big Doc Martens underneath, things like that. I see the same in Amy Pond. I think this is a character who is this is with hindsight, because I'm not a Karen Gillan fanboy either. I know a lot of men swoon at the thought of her. I think she's very beautiful. I don't particularly find her attractive, but I think as a presence, I think she plays it really quite beautifully. And even when the scripts don't give her that much to do, she seems to know exactly what measure in which to bring into the character. And she looks like she's been illustrated, really. And so when they put her in one of these outfits, I think this is why the character, as it has endeared now, like 8-9 years since she left the show, purely the character of Amy Pond now continues to be cosplayed so much and painted. These are some of the looks here. I don't know, but I think she was there for the little girls as well.
And I think
she was there for everybody.
I think Moffat got it right because Moffat obviously knows Doctor Who, so he obviously, the companions, like for instance, Leela and Mary Jane, what I'm talking about. Those ones, they were all there for the dads. You know what I mean? Dads watching Doctor Who, and I think this is no exception here because she's very pretty. And it's for young girls as well. Sure, you're absolutely right,
But she's got, Karen Gillan, I think, even though she was a 21-year-old woman, she's got this girlishness about the way that she plays the part. And we're looking at some of her many looks here. We met her, we saw her play pirate, we saw her be a super villain there with the eye patch. All of these looks are kind of iconic. You put her in a nightie, and she's, as you said, Charlotte, she's Wendy being taken away by Peter Pan. Put her in the wedding dress. You've got Andy McDowell.
Yeah.
God, sorry.
And I also think with her acting, you had her being very fiery, harsh almost, but she could do emotion so well. Like when she had to cry, or when anything happened with Rory, she brought that emotion. It's like I was watching funnily enough, Hungry Earth 2-parter at the weekend, and that scene when Rory is getting taken by the crack, and she breaks down in front of the Doctor, and he's begging him to save him, to save Rory. You just go, oh my! It takes your breath. Because, like I said, and that's the same actress who, like I said, when we first met her, she was quite abrasive, Amy. She was, angry with the Doctor because of leaving her. But then she can do, a breaking down in tears moment. And I think Karen could go from both ends very well of that spectrum, which is
a good actress.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, we put it out on our Facebook group, the Type 40 Facebook group, about what were people's favourite Amy moments. And there's lots of answers, people sharing. Have you got any specific memories of this character? How do you feel about Amy Pond there, JT? Are you a fan?
No.
I knew you would say that.
But she has endured this character, though, hasn't she? And Karen has been very loyal to the show, hasn't she? And she continues to seem to be very proud of it and proud of the character. And she represented this character, I believe, in a way which was aware of not just everybody watching, but particularly little girls. She was getting to live out these fantasies, to dress as a pirate, to be kind of a Mad Max heroine there in the picture that we've got on the left-hand corner. To wear funky stuff. And to have fun and representing the show in America as well. I think you'll probably agree with that. Yeah. That when the show broke on Netflix, there Karen was a major part, and Amy too, being so relatable, was a major reason for it breaking in America at that time.
Well, yeah, but as I said before, for any actor getting the gig in America and then suddenly, if in Doctor Who, then suddenly finding themselves on a career path in America, good on them. I would say, and I've only met Karen once. And she was with Matt Smith, but what I got from both of them, this was just before the series was launched back in 2010. Now, I don't know if the Spacebookers remember, they did a tour around Britain in a Doctor Who bus, and they went around the United Kingdom, and I met them in Salford Quays, Salford in Manchester, where they were going to the Lowry to show local school kids their first episode, which had only just been finished. It didn't have the music and it didn't have the titles on it.
I saw it in the press, yeah.
And as they came off this bus, what I got to speak to them very, very quickly. But what got me about these two was the confidence, was the energy, was the sheer joy from both of them. And I don't think they were that nervous when they started shooting. We see in that picture you've got there, the top from Time and the Angels, if I'm correct. I can't really remember because the whole of the Moffat era I am erasing from my memory. But that was her first day shooting with Matt. And from interviews they got, they were confident. They knew what they had to do and they just got on with it. But that's the beauty of youth. They were both very young. And as we all know, when you're young, you're confident, you get on with your job and you go and do it. But that's what got me about these two. And I thought Doctor Who's in safe hands here. These two work well together. They were having fun together. Matt hadn't even been seen on the telly, and here he was controlling these huge, very energetic kids. He's letting them hold the sonic screwdriver. They're touching the TARDIS. They're doing all this. I've got some brilliant pictures somewhere about this lovely day, and I just thought this series is going to be in safe hands with those two. The Moffat thing is another story.
Before I know, Charlotte, you're about to go off on your own adventure in time and space and go and get your tea, aren't you? But would you like to share with us one of your favourite Amy Pond moments before you go?
It's probably actually in an episode I don't love, but I love Amy in it, and it's a Town Called Mercy when the Doctor's about to shoot. I can't remember the character's name, but he's so angry, and this character is the reason why. I think the villain is terrorizing the town, and he's about to shoot him or basically sacrifice him. And Amy says, "This is what happens when you're alone for too long." And she instantly recognizes you've been traveling by yourself. You need a companion. And she challenges him. And I think that's a brilliant insight to her knowing the Doctor. Like I said, I think she's one of the companions who probably has got one of the most in-depth knowledge of their Doctor. And I think that moment shows it brilliantly.
Yeah, it's a good scene.
Because there are times, aren't there, as well, Ian, through the thank you, Charlotte, whereas the character kind of comes and goes out of their lives. Thank you, Charlotte. I know you've got to shoot, but yeah, we hope you come back again soon.
Bye.
See you, Charlotte.
Bye bye. Because
I think there's when it comes to a companion, I think there's always a difference to a companion that's never seen a regeneration. Because if you compare a lot of the ones, like Charlotte's just been saying there, Ursula, Amy knew her Doctor. I think it would have been, if you compare it to someone like Sarah Jane, who had seen a handover where she'd known two variations of it, I would like to see how Amy would have handled another incarnation turning up. And I think Karen would have been able to play that with some sort of depth, some sort of, I've got to think about this and play it. But I think there's always a difference between some of the characters and how and what they've been through to establish their relationship and their interpretation of the Doctor.
Moffat would try a similar thing with her successor, with Clara Oswald, but I think to a fault, really. I think what he did with the character of Amy Pond was more subtle and cleverer. We see Amy not just eventually as a very, very old woman in this episode on the left there, where she's been without the Doctor for decades, hasn't she?
When was that?
Been fighting for her life.
Yeah.
That was in the Woman Who Waited, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a good episode. It's also very.
I thought that was series. Wasn't that series 10?
That was series.
Wasn't that Capaldi?
6.
No, it wasn't Capaldi. It was Matt.
But
It was a
there,
very
right.
sad episode as well. Very, very.
But
sad.
there on the right, we did, as you said, we did know her right the way from when she was a very, very young girl, and I can think of very few other companions, even though she has got this picture book quality about her, that we saw at either extremes of their life and go through so many changes within the average season.
I thought it was quite confusing trying to keep up with what Moffat was doing with Amy, and I think Karen Gillan, just for the record, is a brilliant actress, and I'm very, very pleased that she's gone on to stellar. And this new thing that we reviewed the other week, the new film that's coming out, I'm definitely watching that because I want to see her with that cast and what she's up to. But I was for the character, I think Moffat was so determined to try something different that Amy sort of got lost. So that whole thing about her getting married and then jumping on the Doctor and then losing a husband to be, and then him coming back and, you know, not knowing the Daleks because of the crack thing and not being there for the resolution of that. And I don't know, I just thought it got a little bit sort of weird, really. And I think part of her character got lost in all that.
I think he made it too complicated. He made the whole of that era too complicated, especially with the timey-wimey thing. There was really no need for him to do that.
When they wrapped up Amy's character with the character of River Song, do you think that Amy may have come out of that?
I forgot about that.
For worse.
First of all, they should never have brought back River Song, in my opinion, because it just spoilt the dynamic between the three of them, Doctor, Rory, and Amy.
I can see an argument for that.
And also another thing, and I'll always say this, it freaked me out because the woman that played River Song looked like his mum when she was kissing Matt Smith, and I was like, you know, this doesn't work, you know what I mean? So, and that didn't work for me either. But as I think I agree with JT, Moffat made it too complicated instead of trying to keep it simple. And I loved what he did. I loved the silence. I loved the Weeping Angels. You know, he went out of his way and used his imagination and created stuff for this new era of Doctor Who, which obviously Chibnall doesn't know how to do. So given that we talked about,
given the purity of this character, though, Ian, would you say that was compromised by everything that Stephen Moffat was doing extraneously with other characters and with the format of the show, even?
Yeah, I didn't like her conclusion, her and Rory's conclusion. Especially, it didn't make any sense, right? Because when the Weeping Angels zap you away, they can zap you away at any point in time. How did she know when she touched the angel that she was going to be with Rory?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. So this is the problem, isn't it? I mean, we know now that, you know, Moffat had this whole plan, but this is the problem when your lead or one of your leads decides to go because of certain things that have happened there, and they've actually, when you look at the whole of the Smith era, he lost the whole series. Just go and look at the production. He lost that whole third series because Moffat and the BBC were splitting things, and part of it there, blah blah blah. So I feel for Matt because he should have had that third full series, and then possibly that fourth one. As you know, look at the productions, you'll see what I mean, and that's what hit this whole thing. Because if you look at, suddenly you've got Time of the Doctor, everything's trying to be tied up. It would have been nicer, I think, when I met Karen Gillan that day with Matt Smith when they were doing that tour, I knew that Arthur Darvill was coming into this as well. I think most of us would have done at that point, and we knew there was a third. But the energy, as I say, from those two was so overwhelmingly fantastic and brilliant and confident and honest to God, those two, I did fall in love with both of them a little bit there, thinking Doctor Who's fine. I can't wait to see these two on screen. But I was sort of getting the vibe of Tom, Harry, and Sarah Jane.
Yeah, definitely.
And I was a little bit disappointed as we got through series 5, and that didn't happen.
I did like this. I did like Moffat's version of Doctor Who. I really did. I mean, as I said, I agree with some of the points that JT says, and I hated because he's not good at finishing things. Moffat.
No.
I mean, the way he got rid of Amy and Rory was just absolutely. He should have been shot for that.
But at least,
it didn't make any sense.
But at least Amy. But at least Amy got a proper conclusion. She got a final moment.
No, she didn't.
There was an arc. I would argue, Ian, that there's an arc to the story of the character.
Yeah, but she got stuck.
A tragic one.
She got stuck in the 19th century. I mean, someone from the 20th century gets stuck in the 19th century. How bad is that? You know what I mean? It's just.
Oh, did she get that back to the 19th century? I thought she got back to the war.
No, She got zapped back into, I think it's the 19th century, because she was the one that finished off the book. But it wasn't.
I forgot about that as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, it made no sense. Absolutely made no sense that she would be in the same place as Rory.
But it is a happy ending. It's a picture.
How is it a happy ending?
Because
she's with her husband.
Because she got to live out her life with the man that she wanted to be with. That they chosen one another, and they were living out their lives in a kind of pure way where they weren't going to be their destiny was not going to be contaminated anymore by alien beings or by destiny. They were just left to live a natural life.
Well, with no money, no house,
nothing. I thought he was an auton at that point. Wasn't he plastic?
But
wasn't Amy jelly? Wasn't Amy jelly as well?
But Ian, they've got to make a life for themselves with one another. It could be whatever they made of it, and that is in storybook terms. That is the happy ever after. Surely,
no, it's not. It's a terrible ending. Why would if you get sacked in the 19th century and you have no money and no house, what are you going to be doing? And you're wearing modern day clothes. People are going to be looking at you strange. You got nowhere to go.
I do know where Ian.
Hang on, let me just say it's a romantic, but it's a romantic version. We never see them living that life. We're just told where they are. We're left with that romantic version in our heads of what life could be, and we just get whispers. We just get whispers of it that come through.
It's a terrible ending.
JT, what were you going to say? Sorry, man.
I was going to say I do sympathise with Ian because when you're invested in these characters, that does seem like a bit of a curtailed, rushed ending. However, that's part of that whole story that doesn't sit with me about Amy and indeed Rory. Simon mentioned, was Rory an auton? When did he come back from not being an auton? That never really clicked with me. I just thought, God. And then the whole thing about River Song being their children. I understand what Moffat was trying to do. He was trying to be quite clever, but that was a lot of rubbish. It would have been happier to time with what you're saying, Dan, had they just had all these adventures and their love had grown and tied them together as one of the other or both were threatened by all these nasty bug-eyed monsters. For them to settle down. I mean, I never even got that bit. Where did they get that bloody house with the TARDIS blue door? What was that about? And what happened to that afterwards?
We never know how much time, because they spend several periods of time apart from the Doctor. We never really told how long that is in between times they spend traveling with him. We've got a little comment here from Sadako24 watching in the chat. I would have preferred Angel's take Manhattan's ending if River revealed that the younger child's self met Amy and Rory in past New York and they did all get to raise her after all. I can see why members of the audience would want that. Personally, I think that is yet more over-egging of the pudding.
They should have just left them, after that adventure, they went away and back to their house, then their wonderful house, and lived their lives. Why zap them into the 19th century where they had nothing, no money, no house, nothing? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Listen, problem being, I honestly can't remember anything about that era. I spent most of it asleep. I've got all the Blu-rays here. Problem being, I'll have to go back and revisit it. I'd rather watch that era than the current era. But this is the problem of the whole Moffat. Sorry, Dan. This is the whole problem of the Moffat era. Nothing comes together.
I want to explain for the people who are listening, the people who are listening to the podcast version, what we're talking about. So, problem being of the chat has just reminded us here that the Doctor gave Amy a winning lottery ticket, and that is how they could afford to set themselves up.
Well, he gave her the house, didn't he? Yeah, he gave her the house, and he gave Rory the car. Remember the car? He gave Rory the car that he wanted.
I remember now. I'm in a similar boat to JT. There are lots of intricacies because this is a fault, I think, with Moffat's writing, where things like that get put in one little line in between, and it gets sort of skipped over, doesn't it, JT? So it doesn't stay with you as well as it probably should.
Well, for myself, I have to say that, I've said this before, I can retain any piece of information from 1963 to 1989 about the shows. I'm so invested with that era. I can do something similar from 2005 to 2009, but from 2010 onwards, I just start to drift away. As I say, I spent most of the Moffat era asleep for the first time in my life. I would drop off there, and I was only there, to be very honest, for Smith and Capaldi, both of whom to me were the Doctor and both had massive potential. But as we've said before, these scripts that they were given, oh man, but as I say, I'd rather watch anything from the Moffat era than anything that's churned out now. I might just do that. I might go back and try and make sense of it all. I don't know.
Moffat
Have I got time?
His best. He tried his best, but he made it too complicated. That's what
he just tried to be clever. Yeah. I sometimes think he read things in Doctor Who magazine that says, "Oh, isn't Moffat clever?" And he goes, "Oh, yes, I am. Thank you very much. I'll just try this now." And then he went and read The Time Traveller's Wife.
Yeah,
because it's fair to say that Stephen Moffat thinks he's clever, and
he is clever.
I can't really argue with that. I think he is a very clever writer. I think he's an energetic writer. I think he's imaginative. I think he's industrious. I mean, he's written more Doctor Who now than pretty much anybody else. I'm sure I've read that fact somewhere out there, than anybody else. And in introducing us to this character, I mean, particularly. In fact, I'm going to mention her as well, because Karen Gillan isn't the only person who played Amy Pond so beautifully. Let's talk a little bit about Caitlin Blackwood too. Here she is. There's Caitlin there on the right, as she is now, and an actress. And you can.
She looks like her a lot.
Family resemblance there to Karen Gillan.
Yeah.
Wow. Caitlin was 10 years old when she appeared in Doctor Who.
How old is she now?
She's from Northern Ireland. She's the cousin of Karen Gillan. They'd never met at that time. Obviously, they've met since. They were in the show together. So that would make her 21 now.
21.
And on the left, we're looking at a still from probably one of the most iconic scenes in certainly new Doctor Who history. In fact, I'll say in the entire history of Doctor Who. #fish custard. People still get it on T-shirts.
Fish finger custard.
Absolute television magic.
Yeah, it's a great scene. It's a great scene, and I love that line that crack in the wall line when he says to her.
And I would argue that the success and the enduring popularity of the character of Amy Pond is it's due in no small part to how well Caitlin Blackwood played it as a child, because we know, don't we, Simon, that in the history of all entertainment, and particularly Doctor Who, we've had some terrible child actors in the past. And she was absolutely outstanding.
Oh, she was.
As young Amy Pond.
She was absolutely cracking. And I have to be honest, being brutally honest, I would much rather she'd gone with the Doctor than Karen Gillan did. I
thought that was going to happen.
I just thought she was a far more interesting character for me. Once Amy Pond settles in, for me, she's a very dull character. I find her very dull. I'm sorry, I'm probably a lone voice here, but I find Amy a very dull, uninspiring, uninteresting, crushingly boring character. Whereas, young Amy, I think is absolutely fascinating. I could have watched her till the cows came home, young Amy, and that's what I would much rather have.
I did like Karen Allen's. Karen Allen.
No, that's fair enough.
I did like her. I did like her character. I did like her character. I thought she was very spunky, and she did work off Matt very, very well.
Yes, she worked off Matt well. Yeah.
But as I said, right, I agree with JT that the storylines were too complicated. He should have simplified them and not mucked around and sticking all the stuff that he created before, like River Song and all that crap. He should have just basically had one long line and just kept going rather than go backwards, forwards, and then just get us all confused.
If they'd had a really good, and we've said this before for Capaldi as well, but had the scripts just been a really good sci-fi adventure fantasy series, those three together with none of the human element in it, really, with none of that sort of wedding and love and rings and whatever else it was, all that nonsense, really. And then battling, various baddies. I think that would have been a far more interesting series.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, the production values at that time were just so fantastic. They really were. They were sailing the production.
Yeah,
they were.
Were never better than in that particular era. They were better than in the Tennant era, I think. So you're right. If those stories had just if he had dropped the River Song and being the mother and all this stuff and the baby in the crib and all that stuff, and just told good cracking stories that he is good at doing, rather than trying to be too clever, I think it would have been phenomenal.
I mean, that's what we always say, isn't it? Good cracking stories. We're always asking for good cracking. So any future production team that happens to be watching now, please remember, all we want is good cracking stories.
And good, and more to the point, or certainly as much to the point, good crisp dialogue that seems like the way that they don't have to be things that real people would say necessarily. It depends on the character, but certainly consistent characterization, which I think obviously some episodes served Amy Pond better than others. But I think because Karen Gillan herself, not like some performers out there, she was always present. She always seemed like she was thinking about her character, completely embodying it. And I think that's one of the reasons why she's endured, why she's been latched onto so hard.
Yeah.
And so many iconic looks here. I think we are really, really proud of everything that she's done since. Karen Gillan as an actress, hugely successful films, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and there's the Jumanji films too. More on the way. Gunpowder Milkshake's out in just a few weeks' time, and there's other projects I'm certain bubbling up. And she's got aspirations to direct and write herself. In fact, I think she has directed a couple of shorts, and she's a big horror fan, and she's a big she's a big social media user. She's got a really nice Instagram feed, which I encourage anybody, if you do like her, to go and follow her there, because there are no, I mean, don't get me wrong, she puts her makeup on and all the rest of it, but there are no pretensions about it. It's very, very warm, and she just comes across as a really quite a down-to-earth person, appreciative of her fan base, and as I said before, only too aware of the part that Doctor Who and Amy Pond have played in a success going forward.
Well, and also let's not forget that this era was the last really hugely successful, popular era of Doctor Who, because it was.
I'd say that's fair.
It had come off the David Tennant era, which was huge, but it was still sailing with Matt Smith, and as you've alluded to, Dan, it was huge in America. So total respect to this particular era of the show. It was still absolutely pushing all those buttons. Is it getting a bit gushy? Well, maybe it is, but you've got to respect where it's due.
It's a celebration. As I said, she's one of the Doctor Who family, and I think she gushes about us, so I think we should gush about her.
Huge popular era. Give it respect for that.
Yeah,
it was a great era, I got to admit, and I enjoyed almost all of the episodes. There's some stupid writing in there, but
there's a lot of stupid writing.
No
in
denying
there.
it. Matt Smith.
What's your favourite Amy Pond moment, though, Ian? What's stayed with
11th
you?
Hour. 11th Hour is my favourite episode of any episode in Doctor Who history. I would actually go as far as to say that 11th Hour. Well, I'm sorry, JT, to upset you, but for me, the 11th Hour was Doctor Who brought to modern day Doctor Who.
I'm going to have to go and have a lie down.
I really think it's great. Absolutely great. Absolutely terrific.
Okay.
But there you go.
Good for you.
I've upset those two. Those two.
I think the 11th Hour is a very good episode, but I wouldn't put it up that far. But it's a great
I'm with you, Ian. I completely agree. I think it's an outstanding piece of TV. Brilliant, iconic Doctor Who that's worthy of a great many movies. Really, I think that the way the story sweeps along, the way the characters build, and it's got that. It sits there somewhere creatively. I mean, not literally, in the middle of Russell's style and Stephen's style. I think it's incredible. I watched it again recently, and we reviewed it, in fact, on the podcast, and it surprised me. I always remembered it as being good, but it still surprised me how good it was, and I could have quite easily have gone and done a full rewatch of that era had I not been deep in the Sylvester McCoy era.
Kept going and going
at the time. Yeah, I completely agree. We're going to leave the Matt Smith era behind. We're going to leave Karen Gillan and Amy Pond behind now for a fond farewell, and head back to the shores of the island of nostalgia that we like to visit quite regularly here on Type 40 Live for, on this day, our strand of shameless nostalgia. So, Simon, I want you to open up, when I can get this off screen, so I want you to open up your 500-year diary and tell us what you've got on the page bearing the letters that denote it as being the 15th of June on this day.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll whip through this, seeing as we're running out of time, but we'll whip through these. Well, I can hear the police box warping again, so we're obviously off. We're obviously off back through the decades. First port of call this afternoon is a couple of episodes from previous years. Now, interestingly, these are a couple of real Marmite episodes. They were both quite, to an extent, lesser or greater. They were quite divisive at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Yesterday saw the 13th anniversary of Midnight with Leslie Sharp. And
I thought everybody loved Midnight. I thought everybody loved that one. I did.
Well, I think the thing is with Midnight, I like Midnight. I've kind of heard, from various fans over the years. Some people seem to love it. Some people seem to find it really quite irritating, with Leslie Sharp constantly repeating sentences back and all the rest of it. I like it. I thought it was clever. David Trown's in that one, of course, as well.
Yeah.
Absolute cracker. So yeah, it's good for me. The other one that is very, very controversial, on Thursday, it'll be 15 years since Love and Monsters.
Still better than anything produced today.
Yeah, I think I probably agree with
That
you
is
there,
so
Jake.
true.
I have to be
So
honest,
true.
I would. But certainly my least favourite of that whole era. But I would agree, JT. And on Friday, it's going to be 16 years since the parting of the waves. Since we waved goodbye to Chris Eccleston, which seems just incredible now that we're even talking about that. 16 years ago that we said goodbye to Christopher Eccleston. I mean, that's just kind of nuts, isn't it, when you think about it? 16 years.
And hello to David Tennant too.
Yeah, and I must be. I said hello to David Tennant. I happen to love Parting of the Ways. I thought Bad Wolf was a fairly dull episode, but I think Parting of the Ways. I don't know what anybody else thinks of that one. That to me is.
I love it too. Yeah, I think it's the better of the two episodes.
Yeah,
and I think I actually quite like Bad Wolf because it sets up certain things and sort of explains others, But also I think Parting of the Ways is a decent. Well, it's a superb finale. It rounds off that entire self-contained series. You could watch that series without any previous knowledge of Doctor Who, as many millions in the United Kingdom did, as many around the world did, I would imagine. And it could have finished there, and it would have been okay. It would have been great.
And it's Parting of the Ways also, as does Bad Wolf, features one of my very, very, very favourite companions who should have been and never were, and that was Linda with a Y.
Linda with a Y.
Oh,
yeah, love her.
EastEnders was beckoning.
Is that where she went? I had no idea.
That's
not immediately.
That's the actress Jo Joyner, everybody, who'd been in a comedy drama called No Angels for Channel 4, where she played a trainee nurse.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I've seen her in anything else at all, but I thought she was cracking, and the character was just absolutely brilliant. I loved the character. So, as I say, she, along with was it Sally Sparrow in Blink? Sally Sparrow?
Yeah.
Sally Sparrow was the one off, yeah. But that was
she's been a good companion as well.
She was.
That was the great thing about
Jo Joyner was on EastEnders for, I think, the best part of 10 years. And I think now she's the co-star of a big detective show with Mark Benton on the BBC. It's like a daytime TV thing. I can't remember what it's called. It's like, it's sort of will they, won't they detective drama where they go. They're based in Stratford upon Avon. Shakespeare and Hathaway, that's what it's called. It's one of those like a Midsummer Murders kind of show.
Well, good for her. Well, I'm pleased she's gone to stuff because she absolutely should. She deserved it.
But that's one of the things I love about the RTD era, especially. You got these companions who could have been. I mean, you got Adam, for heaven's sake, who shouldn't have been, but he got there for a couple of episodes, But then you got somebody like Jo, and it showed for myself. It was bringing back things to viewers. The Doctor's world is not safe and cozy.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yes, you're quite right. And bless her, Linda with a Y, the way she dies, it's just master. And you know that the Dalek is saying exterminate, even though you never hear it. It's just beautiful.
Fabulous. Yeah.
Beautiful bit of direction and writing just coming together. So, respect to Parting of the Ways. We've got a couple of birthdays. Today, happy birthday to friend of the show, Chris Chapman.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Chris, who's been on the show before now. Really great guy and done so many cracking documentaries for the Blu-ray range. Highlights, absolutely, for me, being the J&T documentary and the Liz Sladen documentary, which deserve awards. I mean, they just knock out. So Chris Chapman is 40 today, the big 40. So happy
just a child.
Happy 40th, Chris. Happy 40th, mate.
Yeah, I can't
happy
remember
birthday, young man.
40. Also, on Thursday, we've got a couple of other birthdays. 2 people, in fact, on Thursday who are both going to be 39. Yes, it's Arthur Darvill and our very own favourite Jodie Whittaker.
How old
Happy birthday, both.
They're both 39, so they're not only got the same birthday, they've got the same birth date. They're both 39 on Thursday. So, yeah, happy birthday to them. Now, also on this week is Michael Ferguson was 84, in fact, yesterday. Happy birthday to Michael Ferguson for yesterday, who long-time fans would know directed The War Machines, The Seeds of Death, and The Claws of Axos. But, and here's the big but, he also played 2 key roles in the very, very early black and white days. And I'm going to come back to you with this in a moment. I'm hoping somebody in the chat will put a couple of suggestions in as to if they know which 2 roles Michael Ferguson played right back in the black and white days. And I'll tell you in a second.
Come on, chat. Chip in.
Come on, chat. See if you can come up with these. And you'll be amazed. If you don't know it, you'll be amazed. But the other person that we really got to remember tomorrow, 81 years old, bless her, Carol Ann Ford will be 81 tomorrow. So we absolutely salute Carol Ann for happy birthday tomorrow because, wow, let's be honest, they don't come much bigger than Carol Ann Ford, do they?
A real Doctor Who legend. I'd say the first lady of Doctor Who, I'd say, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think she certainly is, and she definitely earned that title because literally she was the first lady of Doctor Who.
Yeah, she literally was, and she's still such a good representative for the.
Yeah, she's lovely.
We have no takers yet, guys.
No
on
takers.
Michael Ferguson.
No takers. Okay, I'm going to put you all out of your misery. Then it's incredible. He played, believe it or not, Michael Ferguson, director of War Machine, Seeds of Death, and Claws of Axos. He played the very first Dalek. He was the sucker arm of the very first Dalek because at the time he was the assistant floor manager on the series for a very long time back in the black and white years, and so he worked on the very first Dalek serial. And yes, indeed, he was a Dalek. He was the sucker arm because he waved that sucker arm at dear old Barbara at the end of episode 1. But also, incredibly, his other role, he played Alidon's hand in one other episode.
Yes,
brilliant. because they didn't need to employ the actor for that particular. Can you imagine? I mean, he wouldn't get passed by equity these days.
No, not at all. No,
but they didn't need the actor for the full role, so they just got Michael Ferguson to bring his hand in as Alidon for one episode. But the other thing that's cracking is he played the Dalek claw that emerges from underneath the Thal cloak at the end of episode 3.
Must have liked his hand a lot then. Must have liked his hand a lot.
He could have been the hand artist.
Yeah.
Ian, have your digits ever made an appearance in any of your films over the years?
No, never. I make it a point not to be in front of the camera in my own movies.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to wave. You wouldn't want to be the one waving at a plunger at a young woman there.
Well, I wave a plunger at a toilet once, but there you go. That was about it.
But isn't it funny because you know that somebody had to wave that sink plunger, and I'd never thought about it before. You had never thought who waved the sink plunger at Barbara. You just never think about it. Michael Ferguson, there you go.
He did a good job.
He did do a good job.
Was he insured? Asks Garbage in the chat. Maybe
he should have been.
Handy.
Very good thinking. Very good. Yeah, he should have been. He probably was a hairy hand in Inferno.
Yeah.
And finally for today, we've got a couple of sad departures from the world.
Okay.
1990 today in 1990, we lost Leonard Sachs, aged 80. Bless him. President
1990.
Yeah, 1990 he was aged 80.
Did he die because of what he was wearing? It was very heavy. Did he die?
Well, it'd finish anybody off, wouldn't it?
It would, wouldn't it?
but for us of a certain age, we'll obviously remember him from the good old days.
The good old days.
Yeah, the good old days. Which
was Simon. He was for Doctor Who fans. I mean, it may not be because just that. Well, one role. I was going to say it's actually in 2 roles, but I won't spoil that. But for his appearances in Doctor Who.
Yeah,
he was one of the best-known faces on British TV. Was off the good old days? That was on for years, and he was a major part.
Absolutely, it was a huge role. If anybody doesn't know, The Good Old Days was basically the music hall scenes from The Talons of Wen Chiang, and Henry Gordon Jago in The Good Old Days was played by Leonard Sachs. It's a weird thing, but that's what we had. There were dark days back in the mid-70s, and that was, I think, was it on Friday nights, chaps? Am I right?
Yeah, I think it alternated between Friday and a Sunday, maybe, depending on what scene. But yeah,
but as I recall, it was on for getting on for an hour, probably 50 minutes, and it was music hall acts done in a theatre in the style of the Victorian era, and Leonard Sachs was
the master of ceremonies.
Master of ceremonies, that's right, JT.
And guess who axed it? Guess who axed the show?
Michael.
Great.
Yes, it was one of the ones where he went, nope, that's old-fashioned. We're getting rid of that now.
He had a point.
Well, things have to move on, I guess. Yeah.
Well, it was maybe right, but you can actually YouTube it, Spacebookers, and go and look at it, and you can get some classic. Because it was just a show that just showed what they did before television and stuff. But you get some Barbara Windsor's in it, John Immon's in it, Danny LaRue is in it. All the old greats are in it, and Leonard Sachs loves every second of that tremendous, tumultuous greeting.
Did Pertwee ever do it, JT? Do we know?
No, John never did that. There was a reason why he didn't do it. I'll come back to you on that. I'll have to go and look it up.
Problem being, I'm with you on that one. It used to depress me as a kid as well, I have to be honest. But I can still remember.
He may have been onto something there.
But I remember when Arc of Infinity came around in 1983, it was a big thing that Leonard Sachs was in it, and we all obviously recognised him. And I don't know about you boys, but I was always very excited when Bruiser came back into the show anyway. It was even though he was never played twice by the same actor, was he? But I loved Bruiser being in the show. He was familiar.
That's when the BBC used to be a community where most actors, had learnt their craft through the BBC and stuff. And now it's completely changed, obviously. But yeah,
and because everything was done in house back those days, everything was in TV Centre, from wardrobe to production, vision mixing, as we all know. That feeling comes through on all those shows, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean, those days are long gone now.
Long since gone. And also long since gone, very, very, very finally today, we really do salute. In 1973, we lost Roger Daltrey.
Oh, man. He was brilliant as the Master.
What a legend.
What? He was so brilliant. I it just makes me want to watch John Pertwee era again. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
It's so good.
Do you have a favourite Delgado story, Ian, do you think?
Yeah.
If you had to pick one?
Ooh. The one I keep there's the Oltons. The Oltons. Is it
Terror the Oltons?
Of the Oltons. Yeah, I love that. I love it. I mean, I've watched it 5 times already. But he's brilliant.
Wow.
He's absolutely brilliant in it. Do you know what I mean? I think it's a shame that they didn't keep that persona of the Master throughout instead of creating this crazy Master, which didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But there you go.
That's the problem with regenerations, though, isn't it? Each one's supposed to be different. I mean, Delgado, you're right, Ian. I totally agree with it. Terror of the Oltons is his first story, and it feels like he's been there forever.
Yeah. And he commands. The thing about him is he commands the screen when he's on. Any other actor, he's the man in charge. He's the man in charge. And
this, of course, is why John Pertwee used to get a little bit nose out of joint, because Delgado was feeling his thunder. He was commanding
the star.
And it never mattered what silly pseudonym they'd given the Master or what they gave him to wear. Or even some of the things they got him to do. Roger Delgado was consummate. He was down for whatever they would fire his way. You could just tell he loved playing this character, relished every single line.
Look at his face, though. He looks evil. That's what I'm saying. He's so perfect to play the Master. And when you see other Masters that followed him, they were kind of not so look. They didn't have the look.
I agree. Anyway. He was literally born to play the Master, and the Master was born to be played by him, and almost should never have come back, kind of thing. I agree. And as a child, I just remember being completely entranced by the Master. I don't remember being scared by him. It was an electrifying thing.
I was scared. I was scared of him when I was a kid. Definitely.
It's not. Well, it's very sad, and it's hard as we come up now to 50 years since the passing of Roger and since the Pertwee era and all these things. 50 years, half a century. It sounds like a long period of time because it is a long period of time, and you feel. Obviously, I'm sad that we didn't get to see him play the Master some more, But he wasn't a very old man, and you think I'm sad that he didn't get to see how loved that character has become, his performance of it, and things as they are now. It's just like with William Hartnell and other people. So so we've got pictures, we've got the episodes. We know very little about him. He didn't give many interviews, I understand. And we've got some pictures of him in day-to-day life, and I think we cherish what we have got.
I can still remember being at a convention back in the 80s, and John Levine was there. And John Levine was saying about how much Roger Delgado loved the series, loved being in it. And I remember John Levine saying, to this huge crowd of people at this convention, can you imagine if Roger Delgado was to walk in now? And it literally just sent goosebumps down your spine, because it was just this entrancing thought of, my God, Roger Delgado, the place would just erupt. He never knew, you're right, Dan, the love that people had for him and for the character. Is there anybody out there that does not love Roger Delgado as the master?
He's the only person on screen that can make holding a little cigar weapon threatening. Do you know what I mean? It's like holding it there like that. Hello, Doctor. You know what I mean? You think, freaking hell, I'm scared.
We still revere you, Roger Delgado. Absolutely. And thanks for putting all that together, Simon. It's always a blast from the past, and we have people enjoying it in the chat as well, sharing their memories and their favourite Roger Delgado stories and performances. But yes, we're going to go back to the sort of present now. There we are. Is that fried your brain? Fried your brain.
My ears. Yeah.
I might have to go to the loo in a minute. Warn me, that's coming on.
Yes, so that does nearly wrap us up this time. We've got one more thing I want to get on screen, but before we get there, I just want to remind you that you haven't already. This has been a great show by our standards. It's been a fantastic live stream. Thanks to everybody who's been on the panel. Thanks to Queen Charlotte Shields back there. Hope she's enjoying her T2. Simon Horton, Ian David Diaz, and JT.
Why is it when we say Queen Charlotte, do I always think of the big spider in Planet of the Spiders? What's going on there?
I won't tell that. Thank you to everybody watching along there in the live chat on Facebook and on YouTube. But before we go, we cannot not look at this. Now, if there's any Doctor Who fans out there, I think it's probably only worth getting Twitter to follow Clayton Hickman and his colorizations of Doctor Who photos past. The man is like a colorization machine, and every time you think you've seen the coolest thing this man can do, he goes and brings out another one. So there's an embarrassment of choices this week. We're just going to show you the one. Please follow him on Twitter. But I'd always wanted to see this picture in color. So this is how it is. This is a picture. Talk of the Pertwee era. This is the Three Doctors. So this is John Pertwee with Patrick Troughton and William Hartnell outside Ealing Studios in November of 1972 as they were filming. I think they just filmed the story, hadn't they? So here they are, all in costume. I think Patrick was on the outside of a liquid lunch there. We haven't got a time to be exactly when this picture was taken, but it's a fantastic photograph, and it's been seen in various states of graininess over the years. Clayton gave it a polish up in its black and white state, so we get to see the lines on those wonderful, beautiful faces. But he went one better. He's colorized it as well. Prepare yourselves for the upgrade, everybody.
Whoa!
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Fantastic.
Stunning, exquisite. Well done, and thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about that. I mean, when I saw this yesterday on Twitter when Clayton released this, I got chills I haven't felt for years, because this just evokes to me, this is Doctor Who. This is Doctor Who, and when I first saw that picture in an equivalent of this in the Doctor Who monster book, all those many years ago. Yeah. And I was reminded that there had been the white-haired guy before the one in the scarf, and then there were these other two guys. The sense of mystery for me, I had to go to my dad and say, "Who are these people?" And he had to explain the whole thing about Doctor Who. Everything came flooding back through that colorized picture yesterday. Did you?
I love those three. Those three are amazing.
It's just Doctor Who, isn't it? That BBC.
Yeah,
is Doctor Who.
Much as I adore Tom Baker and he is my Doctor, I look at those three and I'm like, you know what? If it had stopped at that point, it would still have been an absolutely brilliant series because those guys, all three of them, are legends, aren't they? You know, again, is there anybody out there that doesn't love those three blokes on screen right now?
Jodie fans, no doubt.
People watching along here in the chat who maybe haven't seen these pictures before.
It's just totally special. Really is.
And as Kelly says, watching in the chat, so much colorization is rubbish.
Yeah.
This is great. These are great. You know, and Clayton does accept some serious challenges as well. You know, I've worked as a retouch artist. I know how hard some of this stuff is, and he gamely steps into the breach. He'll pick up. Well, I don't know if he picks up every gauntlet. We don't see the things that he turns down. But the jobs that he's taken on like this, the photographs that he has colorized, not only do they look better than ever, but some of them, I never thought I'd see them.
But it's down to the little touches here. I mean, he's got the costumes perfect. And Garbage was just saying they're glad they got the correct clothes on. Well, that's because they're the costumes they were wearing in the actual Three Doctors episodes, Garbage, of course. But look at the different, you can just see in the trees behind the guys, you can see the different gradients of green. Yeah. I mean, good God. I mean, he's a walking colouring book, isn't he?
So it seems. So
just brilliant. Brilliant.
I said this to him last year on Twitter, and you know, bear in mind that he's upped his game seriously since then. I said to Clayton, if you don't turn these into a calendar, somebody will. So I think somebody's got to do something with these photos. They're absolutely beautiful.
I'd like that calendar.
Go to a gallery.
I love the Three Doctors. Great stuff.
It's as I say though, it's just the feeling that comes from that. I think we're all getting it here, aren't we? The chills
it's magical.
Are just, I mean, wow. It's so special. So special.
It is why we love Doctor Who.
Special time for a special show. I mean, you could say that there've been an abundance of special times when it comes to Doctor Who, and we've had a special time with you this afternoon here on the Spacebooks YouTube channel on Type 40 Live. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it as we have. We're going to remind you that Simon and I, our podcast stroke vodcast, reviewing the Clack art book from Candy Jar Books. That's up on the channel this week. You'll find it very, very easily there, or on the podcatcher of your choice. We're talking Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, you name it, we're on it. Just go and search Type 40 Doctor Who podcast and you'll see us. You can follow us and stream or download to your heart's content on that. If you've enjoyed this live stream, it's been your first with us, because we have had a lot of people watching this afternoon. You'll be pleased to learn, maybe, that 20-odd other similar long-form conversations like this. You know, some are about Doctor Who in the here and the now and breaking news, or just idle bits of gossip that we fancy chewing the fat over. And some are dedicated, what we call event shows, such as Doctor Who Run the Show, where several of us decided what we would do if we were the showrunner. We should probably do that again, I think.
You should watch it, everybody. Watch it.
Yeah. Absolutely watch that video. Or you should go and watch Talking K9, where we had Bob Baker and Paul Tams from K9 Official on board to talk about the past, present, and the future of the Doctor's Tin Dog Companion. Absolutely glorious. Or there was our Doctor Who Day extravaganza from 2020 last year, and lots of other stuff. Christmas party. We've had some great conversations, which you've all been part of, and we can't thank you enough. So, yeah, please like the video, subscribe to the channel for more, and hit the cluster bell so you don't miss the next time that we go live here on Type 40 Live on the Spacebooks YouTube channel. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this afternoon, this evening. We're all going to go and get some tea now, as always. But, yeah, thanks to you for watching too. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.